Okay. Hello and welcome, listener, to episode 2, season 2, Dice Hosers podcast. You've joined our regular gang of Sean, Matt, Evan, Kevin, and my co-conspirator Derek for another episode of the exciting show that is the Canadian True North Bolt Action and all that is Warlord. So we're going to cover off a few things. We've got our events calendar. We're going to do a quick debrief of Evan and mine's trip to No Man's Land. It's critical hit event. We're covering we've got Adepticon in about 3 weeks when this comes out. Tactical focus will be on armoured cars. We've got an interview with Dave Gordy of the Dice Dischargers 214. Who is crazily awesome dude, and if you're watching it, you'll see how insane it is with his amazing man cavern, not a man cave, it's a man cavern, and then what our hobby plans are going to be after that. So without further ado, we will jump over to Monsieur Sean, who will take us through the events calendar. Well, actually, before we do that, I just want to check, is everybody cool? Is everybody all right? Everybody? Yeah,
I am
stuck
very
in this
cool.
stupid podcast. That should be a T-shirt, Matt. I'm doing this stupid podcast.
Making me do this again. I can be
Kev, you're good.
If one day Bo watches, shout out to Bo. Here's I'm drinking wine while doing this as well.
Nice, very good. So, the Sean, what have we got in the events calendar in Canada?
Thank you, Craig. I'm glad you asked. Well, not in Canada is Adepticon, which is about the next thing we're going to do. That's only a week away. But after that, come April 7th, is Brawl in the Hall by the D6 Dodgers. Comics and games. The rule format is a Recce Rumble, which is why we're maybe talking about Recce today, but it's a great format. It's very fast, very mobile. I think Snafu made it popular.
Yep.
So pack your horses if you want to go on April 7th to the SBT Comics and Games in Kingston.
Yeah.
Kingston.
I think that's one we'd love to do.
Yeah.
We'd love to go to.
Yeah.
Just too close.
It's a great town. That's it's a very historic town because it's right there at the mouth. It was like the first stop. Very popular place for loyalists at the end of the Revolutionary War. Now, Mr. Simcoe only stopped there a couple times, really. He didn't hang out there too much. His wife loved it. She did a lot of artwork from around there. But he just stopped there on the way to, on the way to the Niagara region when he was going to Newark, then now Niagara on the Lake. Then on the way out again, hopped on a boat from York, which was now the capital of the Upper Canada, taking the Onondaga, stopped in Kingston again. He was only there for a brief 18 hours, which is unfortunate. If I was going to go to this tournament, I'd be staying longer than 18 hours, I think, just to see more of the town. He only saw a little bit of it because, well, Elizabeth and the kids, had to catch a quick nap. But he played a little bit of cards that night, some whist down at the pub. But he was actually playing with some Americans, and he beat their asses and made them really angry. So by the time he got to Quebec, switched over to the HMS Pearl, very famous ship, and started scooting back to Britain. He was chased all the way by an American ship the whole time. A little frigate chased after him. HMS Pearl is a very fast little fifth-rate frigate, though, so he had no trouble getting away. So anyways, Brawl in the Hall. That's April 7th. SBT Comics and Games.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like the connection there.
Definitely.
After that, Operation Claymore. That's going to be us at Tista Minis in Hamilton. It is a doubles tournament, 1,400 points, 15 dice cap. You can find it on the Facebooks to get the details. There'll be 10 teams for that one. We already have 7. So 3 spots left available. Tickets for that one are $50. It comes with a lunch.
$50 per team.
Yeah. And there is something going on in May of interest to historical gaming folks. It's in Niagara Falls. It's at the Niagara Military Museum. It's called Dice Days. You can find that on Facebook, too. I've seen it advertised in a few forums. Southern Ontario Wargaming, it's been there as well. It's put on by the Hamilton Tabletop Gaming Society and a fellow called the Tattooed Historian who's looking to make a mark. He just moved to Canada a little while ago, but he's starting to post a lot of things. He basically travels around to Normandy and places like that and makes very interesting posts.
He's got a podcast as well.
Yep, but this is not a tournament. This is it's just all sorts of historical games, miniature war games, board games, role-playing games, whatever. But you show up, and there'll be people running games, and everything is provided for you. You don't bring nothing. You just see what's going on. Now, I have not seen a listing of what's going to be run at that event yet, but it does have my interest. I've seen it there. It's only $5. $5 buys the whole day. They have morning sessions from 10 till 2, and then an afternoon session that goes from like 3 till 10 or no 8, something like that. So there's 10 till 2 and 3 to 7 is what the 2 time slots were. So that looks interesting. We'll keep our eye on that as well.
Is that Niagara on the Lake?
No, Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls.
They call it the Niagara Military Museum. Now, when I was in the Falls, it was called the Armory, and it's where the cadets hung out. I haven't been back in that neighborhood since it was called the Niagara Military Museum. But it's a big building. It's an armory, basically. So it'll be interesting to see what they're putting on there.
Awesome. That just to add to the list, just hot off the press, there is potentially Pat Hamill of Over the Top Gaming is running a tournament, I think the first weekend in May. That's going to be in I'm trying to remember, Oshawa, because he ran one last week and it went very well. And it was one that he recorded the games and such. So I think there's that one, and then the other one is the CTC in May 24th in Oshawa.
Oh, man. Yeah, I want to go to that too.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good stuff coming, and then we'll be probably after Adepticon, probably after Operation Claymore, we'll release information about the 2-day tournament that we've got coming up in September that Dice Hoses is running. So, and hopefully we'll have some news out of Adepticon that we'd like to talk about, but that's a little bit understumped for the moment, and we'll let you know. Cool. So that's the calendars. There's some good stuff going on, and that's only bolt action in that. Of course, there's lots of other things happening with other systems. This is probably quite a good time it's a golden time for playing tabletop miniature games. There's so much out there, and there's so much fun, and it's good to get together with people and have a beer. With that, we are going to Evan and I are just going to quickly talk about our adventure to Critical Hit Games for the No Man's Land event that we went to. End of January, I think. January 27th.
Last weekend of January.
Evan borrowed my British and used them as CFF-riken. And then I used, what did I do? Oh, Soviets. That was right. I used Soviets. So, Evan, thoughts? I'd say, first of all, thoughts about, and we've been there a few times, but there were some changes at Critical Hit.
Yeah. Overall opinion is it's gone downhill. The fact that for those who've never been, Critical Hit was infamous, famous, happy place of a gaming area above, pub underneath. So you could have really nice food, you could have alcohol, you could relax at lunchtime, whatever.
And the pub underneath it was a microbrewery as well. They made their own line of beers as well.
Microbrewery under the pub.
Oh.
Under the gaming room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these opinions are that of Evan and do not necessarily reflect those of Dice Hosers as a whole.
So the only food you can get now is the 4 choices that they have on their own menu because the pub has been sold to someone else. The thing for me, more than the food, is the fact that the lighting is really bad. It's, for me, just with glasses, it's just no. But players, amazing. Tournament itself, it was a bolt action tournament. It was good to get out the house and move plastic toys around the table and roll dice with my mates. So that part I thoroughly enjoyed. The driver didn't fall asleep, which was good. So it was.
When you say the lights, do they have more lights out, or they replaced the lights and they're still just those really, like they're, for anybody that hasn't been there, they're pot lights in a roof that is about 30 feet to 40 feet off the ground. Like it's a high roof. And when the last time I was there was a couple that were out that they just didn't know how to replace. So are there more lights out, or is it just?
They've started replacing them. Of all those pot lights, they've replaced 3 of them so far, which are the 3 above the main sort of the shop counter where the cards are.
Okay.
I asked them about getting additional lighting or replacing the pot lights with more lights. The guy said, well, they can't put up any other lights like LED strips or something like that, and they are slowly replacing pot lights, sort of 1 a month. Yeah.
I would agree on the facility. To me, Critical Hit Games was a great concept overall, and it was great to go to the pub and have food and go upstairs and game. I feel that it is, and people should still go there. People should still go, should still game, should still play. It's still a great place for that. It's still, I think Evan and I just very much of the opinion that we would not drive the hour and 20 minutes from West Toronto to get to East Toronto to play in the tournament, because I don't think that it is as good as it used to be. The players are good and fun to play. The tables are beautiful, and it is nice to have beer come to you and stuff. But it just doesn't feel that it has the prestige that it used to have. And I think we will go to the tournaments there, but we wouldn't go regularly. I think it would be more to go to show support for the local gaming guys. But
so also I heard you guys were at this event. They capped the tickets and they had a Shatterpoint tournament going at the same time.
They had an 18-player Shatterpoint tournament in the same hall.
Yeah,
as us.
Nice.
And it was nice. Like there was really nice, some nice tables and some like an X-wing, an original X-wing model from the 70s. You know, where you press the R2D2 and the
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is. I was trying to figure out a way to steal it, but the shots. I mean, the shots point people were nice. You know, they came over, they looked at the bolt actions. If there's this question, we always said bolt action tables look beautiful, and stuff. So. It was good, but it was disappointing that one tournament was capping out another tournament.
Yeah.
So I think that was a little disappointing.
And then I'm sure the volume, because none of the rounds are ending at the same time, doesn't make it exactly.
Yeah, and I think my final thing, and again, it seems like we're piling on Critical Hit, and you know. I'm from West Toronto, so it's not like I'm going to go there and buy all my stuff, right? So, I'm saying these things purely as a hobbyist view, my personal view, not Dice House's advice. But there is Critical Hit is running the tournament, and there is no love in running the tournament. I always feel you have to have somebody who knows the system that they're running, and they love it, and they want everyone to have a great time, rather than it feel like it's a service. And to me, I just didn't like that feeling. It might be okay for everybody, for other people. Obviously, it's okay for other people, but for me, I just and that was reflected in the prizes. The prizes were just haphazardly, just kind of. Here, you know,
Yeah.
take this and take that. We got this stuff and have the, and it was, but there was no rhyme or reason. There was no winner per se. There was no who came first and second, and there was just nothing to it. And so you were like, well, I played and I had a good time, but also I play in a tournament because I kind of want to know how well I'm doing, right?
So you basically went on a 3-hour round trip, had 3 games that were just regular games,
Yeah.
random rewards for showing up.
That's the way they did their Age of Sigmar too, though. Because their Age of Sigmar was mostly draws for prizes, right?
Yeah, and I don't mind so much if it's, but there was no draw.
Yeah.
It was this person's won this, and that person quite nicely. Daniel was like, "Well, I don't need a tiger tank or whatever Persian tank," like, and gave it to somebody else. But there was just, I don't know. It just for me, as someone who really enjoys running tournaments, I just feel that you have to put a bit of love into it and organization to it, and make sure that the people are enjoying it raw. And I just don't feel that. So, as I said, I'm happy to go play there once every quarter or something like that to show support for the people and but it's not something I would be like, I'm going to go over every other month to an event to play.
Yeah, so if the Critical Hit Gaming Lounge guys are listening, or they hear this, love the venue, but as Craig mentioned, I personally would have liked to have had at the end of the tournament, thank you for coming, go through the rankings. Last place was Evan, second last was Craig, third last was Ever, first was whomever, rah kind of thing. There was no rankings. We have no clue if you weren't first or second where you came.
Yeah.
It's just it's very much, it was a day out from gaming, a day out to go gaming. I could have had 3 games at home.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like a 3-hour trip.
You could have easily said to the players, I'd be quite happy to drive to your house and play 3 games.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it felt like. So, which is disappointing because I don't want it to be that. I want it to be like it was before.
Well, yeah, we want to support our local stores, but that one, like you said, it's particularly far away. It's 3 hours there and back for us. So, any disappointment's going to be magnified by that, especially with anybody that drives around here will understand when you're driving through Toronto, that's a long 3 hours round trip.
And typically I go most of the time 407, so there's money to it as well.
Oh, there's added expense.
Gas but that said, but the actual games themselves, as said, the table, Robert makes these tables and they're beautiful. I do love playing on them, and I love playing against the guys there, and it was great. And I took Soviets, so it was the first time I used Soviets in a tournament setting, and I went 1-1-1, which was interesting. It was interesting to put the theory hammer into reality and be like thinking about how things were, how it was that, you think fanatical infantry and how this works and how that plays. So as I went through the games, I then just kind of figured out, this is how it plays. So there's definitely, it was a learning experience. So it was good for that perspective to play and learn and stuff. And each game was great. I had a great time against each of my opponents.
Excellent.
Yeah, I agree. I played the South Africans for the first time. Loved it. Caused a whole chaos on Reddit with my question when you shot my truck.
That's right.
Yeah, I posted that on Reddit, and that caused absolute chaos. So basically what happened was I had South Africans in a truck. The truck got destroyed by a shot. The passengers disembark. The truck was immobilized. Sorry, it wasn't destroyed. The truck was immobilized. It took pins. The passengers disembark. Theoretically, they take pins, but the South African rule is if they don't take there's not a kill, they don't take the pins. The pins drop away.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So
So
we were trying to figure that out.
yeah, do I keep the pins or not? Because they weren't technically shot at. The truck was shot at.
Yeah, because it's their unit that didn't lose any models. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it was fun. Loved it.
So, but Reddit blew up.
Oh, Reddit blew up totally. That's
what it's there for.
easy to do. You did, yeah.
Yeah, we'll actually have to make a decision for the rule pack for that, just to make sure we come down. I think you're right. I think you shake it off and
no, they shake them off because they didn't lose any models. That's all there is to it.
I actually don't think you shake it off because technically.
Well, you're wrong, aren't you?
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
He's used to it.
why don't you shake it off, Evan?
Because the troops weren't the ones being shot at.
Doesn't matter.
The truck was being shot at.
Yeah, but the troops still didn't take a loss.
Unless the rule says when shot at.
So it says, when a South African infantry or artillery unit receives a hit from a non-HE fire, place the pin marker as normal. If, however, no casualties are subsequently caused, the pin is automatically removed.
Yeah, no, I think they don't. I think they shake it off because technically they received a hit.
Yep. Because that hit the truck could have.
Technically hit them.
Yep.
That's technically hit them.
That's how you're getting the pin as your target.
Yep.
Yeah.
I could see it
I don't know if I
really.
agreed with it at the time. I can't remember what we did at the end.
I don't remember either. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you blew
Cool.
up the Reddits.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Without bringing politics into it, which was amazing.
Yeah. So,
On Reddit?
that overall, it was good to get out and play some games. The guys in Osh were a great group of guys, and some of the Hamilton guys went over there as well. So, it was good to be playing them. Always like enjoying playing the local community, which is good, but just not necessarily would I pay all that money and all that time to drive there and back. So that was our quick visit to that event 1 month before Adepticon. So when this comes out, actually, because we're a little behind because of, or maybe not, depends on how Derek is for time and getting this out, but we're recording a week later than we normally would. We've got Adepticon in just a few weeks, and really looking forward to it. We've got quite a few plans coming up, but Sean, how are you prepared for Adepticon? How's it going?
Well, I have to do a display board for my BattleTech army. I haven't picked my Shatterpoint list. I haven't even looked to see if I have to submit it yet. But I've got my BattleTech list figured out. Shatterpoint list, I'm not going to worry about it. It's just going for fun because it is my favorite game at the moment. BattleTech maybe is my favorite game, but this is for bolt action teams. I'm
Oh my gosh.
still working on it. I got a lot of work to do still, but here's the guys climbing the hill as promised here. So yeah. This is going on your lap for the drive to Chicago.
It looks like you sliced someone's model train layout. You just took a sawzall and just took a big chunk out of it.
I just had this much foam in my basement.
Go big or go home, or
That's
go
right.
big or stay at home.
Yeah.
So we have
exactly.
40
Trying
pages.
to explain in that is
Yeah, that's going to take me. I've got a couple weeks of hard work because now that I've got full use of my arm, I can finish it up. So
right. So you're going to be doing Shatterpoint, BattleTech, and Bolt Action. Is there anything else, or is it just?
yeah, I'm doing some black powder on Sunday.
Ooh. Right.
But you don't have to bring anything for that. That's one of those. They provide everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
it's that big huge table with all the armies on it. You just control a company.
Is it the American Civil War one, the Black Powder Epic Civil War, like you
Yep.
did last year?
Yep.
Nice. Good. Awesome. I would ask you, Evan, but you're not going because
I don't
of it's bureaucratic passport issues between Canada, South Africa, and all this stuff.
Did you ever get your passport? Or are you still waiting?
Still says in progress.
Oh, okay. So it's a good thing you did yank out then.
Yeah.
No,
They're
no
really
kids out
checking
of this
it
one.
Kevin also is not able to go as punishment due to the fact that he's not finished painting our buildings yet. So
Yeah.
he's been told he can't go until he's painted all these buildings for next year.
In his defense, we did say he could go if he wore rollerblades and grabbed onto the bumper
That's right. Yeah.
the whole
How are
way.
the buildings going? Anyway, how are the buildings going?
What
Are they
buildings?
coming on? He's painting bolt action buildings, and I've said he needs to paint the Waterloo buildings because we've got.
And I'm looking at the way he's looking around, and that's why I'm saying what buildings.
Looking for the buildings. The whole thing is all full of buildings. It's like it's a menagerie. Thankfully, I wrote everybody's names on the bottom.
So Waterloo. Well, I don't know. Weren't you supposed to be doing something for someone first? I don't know.
He's got a nephew. He's got a nephew who's.
Good enough.
Yeah.
I don't care about the nephew.
Yeah.
The buildings are more important. So, Waterloo buildings, because we've got a big battle in June. So we need Waterloo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Priority number 1.
Yeah.
Awesome. Matthew Stewart, not Stewart. What are you on?
I've just basically got the display board for Dieppe and a Stuart that I added to the combat patrol list. And Blood Red Skies has been done for a long time, so I'm in pretty good shape. It's just procrastinating on the display board. So,
You got
I need to check out Blood Red Skies tournament to see if we actually have to submit a list or anything. I don't know.
true.
I haven't
Yes.
looked at that yet.
Did
I have to
all of you
submit my
get in
list for
combat
combat
patrol?
patrol too. Pardon?
Yes. Those of us that
All of
want
you get
to
in
be combat.
combat patrol?
Sean's the only one not doing it.
Oh, okay. You guys are gonna have a blast. It was freaking wicked last year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We're hoping to try and get a game in before we go.
I've changed my list 4 times.
Is that why you want me to write your list for you?
Yeah, an American list.
You mean you've changed
It
it?
will
4
change,
times
like-
a day.
Oh, I've changed from 3 a Canadian one to a British one to 2 Japanese, and I tried making 2 US, but I can't make 2 US. So my Japanese are pretty much painted. My US is painted, and I was ready to paint the Canadians because I'm also using them for our list for our doubles changed a bit, so I have to paint a unit for that anyway. So I was like, well, I can just paint all of this, and I'm doing what Craig did. I bought those. I think I might even have bought the same bases, the Arid. I think there were
The
Gamer's Grass?
yeah, the Gamer Grass finished bases. They're actually pretty sweet looking. They looked a lot like the bases we're actually using for our doubles. So that's that's 50% of any model that's painted, right? Bases and faces.
That shouldn't count
makes
for
the model
combat
look better.
Yep. Even my crummy painting looks good on those things. So yeah. So I got to figure out what I'm doing for Combat Patrol because that gets
Due this weekend.
due this week. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's the March.
You have to
right?
commit it.
So that's what I trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm also taking Americans to the singles, so I'm trying to figure out how much I want to bring down because we're all in one car this time around. So it's like if I bring in Americans down and I can make an American Combat Patrol, then that's less stuff to bring because there's some crossover there. Whereas if I bring British down, I'm not quite using my Combat Patrol list because the Combat Patrol is vehicle based. Or sorry, the doubles is vehicle based, my half of it. So that doesn't cross over. But then it's all vehicles, so it's quick and easy to put something else together. So I'm just looking at options. But every time I try to make a 450 list, I end up with like 4 dice or 5 dice at tops of regular guys. So I know Americans can be good with the fire maneuver, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's because I haven't played that low a point as before, so I don't know what to look for, what to make in a list. So,
Fast moving things to take objectives and something to back them up.
yeah. But the Americans, I mean, from the beginning of the war to the end of the war, they pretty much have the same equipment. So it's like they're really,
Do you have any trucks, transport trucks?
Yeah, I can get them. I've got a couple.
Big
Because
Italian cavalry.
I was actually thinking about, I made an Italian list too, and I was thinking about asking Sean for his Italians.
No problem.
So,
Oh, there's Polish cavalry as well, like Matt's got.
yeah, I have,
Japanese cavalry.
That's early war.
It's
That's all early war.
yeah, they're the Polish aren't, because it's 42 to 43, the Polish aren't in it anymore.
Could you use
How about the
them as
Americans?
Cossacks?
Probably.
Yeah.
But,
They're
It's very
from
painful.
yeah.
Eastern Asia, Europa, whatever it is over there. But, yeah.
So,
You would need the
yeah.
models, but don't the Americans have cavalry? Like some Brazilian unit or something? Or...
Not that I
don't
saw,
think the
but
Americans do. No.
Sorry?
not that I
I
saw.
don't
I
think the Americans do.
don't think so. There might be, but it might not be in those theater selectors.
When they joined
Oh.
in 41, or basically when they really joined in 42, they were building up armored divisions.
Mhm.
Like unlike the British, for example, that actually, if you look at the Sherwood Rangers yeomanry, they were shipped out to Palestine on horses, and they ended up on D-Day being in Sherman tanks.
Yeah.
they had that journey, but
That
the
growth.
Americans didn't.
The Americans basically came over in M3s and upgraded to M5s,
Yeah,
which is
pretty much.
literally not much of a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm doubling up with Matt, but Matt's doing most of the heavy lifting for the doubles. I'm painting Soviets because we've got a big Stalingrad game, which we'll talk about in the interview with Dave Gordy. But basically, it's Dice Hosers, aka Team Canada, versus Dice Dischargers 214, aka Team America. And we're going to be playing at Adepticon on the Thursday before Combat Patrol to see who wins Stalin, the Stalingrad battle.
Yep.
But watch the interview for that because it's
First challenge. And if you're in Adepticon, swing by the table because as you'll see when we talk to Dave Gordy in our interview, we do a little video of what he's built so far. And it's going to be 12 by 4 and it is amazing. He's done really a lot of work on it.
yeah. So painted up Soviets, got Blood Red Skies, my Spitfires, Desert Spitfires for that, and don't remember anyone else. We got the doubles, got that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, what's important about Adepticon is also the social aspect of it.
Definitely.
So, the general gist of the plan is Wednesday night, depending on what time we get there, we're going to plan to register. It should be pretty easy because all the Americans have got their passes shipped to them. So it's really the foreigners that have to queue up. But then we've been invited to go to the Polish in-laws of Dave, and that might be a night being introduced to vodka and
Rough start to the
Polish
weekend.
sausage? What's the Polish sausage?
Kielbasa?
Kabasa.
Kielbasa, yeah.
Kielbasa.
I mean, I might be projecting there, but that would sound like a good night. Then we typically go to the next day. Typically go to a 1950s diner. The name?
Pillows.
You got to bring me back a sandwich. Sean, you're in charge of bringing me back a sandwich.
Language.
So that's a great place. Then we've got, I think we're going to be probably doing this pork carvery meal at the hotel. That's supposed to be really good. The thing we're doing for
Pizza.
Well, the last night definitely will be
Sunday's pizza. Saturday, though. What's Saturday?
I
Portillo's
don't
again.
think we have plans for Saturday yet, so we'll probably
Portillo's again.
Portillo's again. Although we are hoping as well to get together with John Russell.
Yes.
For a beer as well. So
Nice.
and catch him up. We're trying to get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
For a later episode, so that would be.
Buy him some beers, do the podcast right at the pub.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if he's staying at the
Thursday,
hotel, we
well,
could just do it at that restaurant.
A little bit of background noise.
Yeah.
Starbucks though. So.
One. Did we want to talk about the lists, the doubles list? Because this is gonna the doubles lists are already they're already in.
I
So
will do it in the recap.
Committed.
We'll do it in the
Recap?
recap.
okay.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, so that's pretty much all of that. With 1 month before Adepticon, I'm going to let my voice have a rest and hand over to Derek for the next section.
Armored cars, or armored vehicles in general. The category, kind of like you got your open top, you got your closed, and for some reason we've put motorbike and sidecar. I couldn't find a lot about that, so somebody's going to fill in. So with these units, they have different advantages and disadvantages to them. So you have your open top vehicles. Their disadvantages is that they can be pinned by small arms fire regardless of whether they're inexperienced, regular, or veteran. They're going to, well, I should say inexperienced gets pinned by regular fire, or not regular fire, but we'll do that in closed top. Indirect fire on open top vehicles gets +1 to damage, and then they also suffer from the same +1 to hit with indirect fire that all vehicles get for launching stuff onto their top armor, which is generally not that strong. With closed vehicles, closed top vehicles basically that have got some kind of cover over their heads. They're not, they're tanks, some armored cars. Inexperienced can get pinned if the pen is +1. So even if you got an 8+ armored car, if it's got an inexperienced crew and you shoot it with like an HMG, which has got a +1 pen, it pins them. It still does its normal pins on them because they're too dumb to know, too inexperienced to know that those can't do any damage. If you have a regular vehicle and you get shot at by anything, they have to actually, you roll a die. And then on a 1 to 3, you get a pin. On a 4+, you don't. And veterans only get pinned if the weapon can do damage. So if you've got an 8+ and they've got a 3+ and they roll a 6, they don't roll the 6 needed to break your armor or to tie it, but they could, then you get then you get pinned. You get the pin, but you don't get the subsequent damage. But if they miss, then you don't get pinned at all. It's just if they hit and don't damage you, but they could have, then you get a pin. There are some special rules for vehicles. These are just generic special rules. I'm just going to cover a couple of them. You got command vehicles. They're kind of like officers in that they give a +1 morale bonus, but they do it in a 12-inch bubbles. But unlike officers, they do not get the snap 2. Open, I already kind of went over it. And then you have Recce. Recce is interesting because it's about the only thing that allows you to move if you're being shot at. So if you're a target of a shot, somebody aims at you, they've declared their fire order, they've looked at you and they say, I'm going to fire at that. Before any measurements are done or any line of sight, you can move your vehicle. Recce vehicles can move their full reverse speed and they get their full maneuverability. Some can move reverse at run speeds, but that's individual vehicles, so it'll be in their vehicle entries. After the move, you go down, and then you recalculate the shooting from there. So if you got out of line of sight, you're no longer a target. This is critical for direct shooting. For indirect shooting, it's slightly different. And I'm going to use the FAQ from the WTC because they've got it really spelt out kind of nicely, especially for multi-launchers for indirect, because it becomes interesting. So if you are the target of indirect fire directly, like the spotter is seeing you, he's calling it in, or the multi-launcher can see you and they're shooting at you, you move out of line of sight, that shot misses you, and all the subsequent shots that would have hit 6-inch bubble around you miss. Now, if somebody is aiming at something within 6 inches of you and you would be a subsequent target of a multi-launcher, you can still Recce away but the other rounds still hit everything else that it would normally hit. So if you're aiming at an infantry unit beside a recce vehicle, you range it on the recce vehicle, or you go to roll to hit the recce vehicle hasn't, this is another important thing, it hasn't done anything yet. You pull the dice out of the bag, give it to it, it moves, then goes down. If it moves out of the range of that 6-inch bubble, it's no longer a target, but that infantry unit and any of the things that are around that infantry unit still would have been targeted. I think I made that pretty much as clear as mud. So then we also have motorbikes and sidecars, which are kind of like a cross between cavalry and vehicles in the sense that they're kind of like Bren carriers, I believe. They get really good movement. They get their pivots, and they get 2 pivots, but they can go any direction, I believe. Can anybody help me out with the motorbikes and sidecars? Because I have never used them.
They do have
A lot of
turn and
Recce gets
squat.
2 direction.
Yeah.
A lot of Recce get that.
A motorbike can end up facing 180 degrees behind it or whatever direction it
Yeah,
ends
that's
up
the
when
best thing about the motorbike, right? Is it can do a
Point
360.
any direction when it after it's backed up
Yeah.
because he just pulls the and takes off.
Yeah, and anybody else that's doing their 2 pivots gets their 90-degree pivots, except for motorbikes and sidecars, and I believe Ren carriers also get face any direction after they've reversed.
You don't know motorbikes because of your refusal to play Germans.
This
That's
is
so sad.
probably
so
true
sad.
as well. Yes, it is.
Craig's dropped.
Yeah, I thought I saw that. That means it's changed. All of my cameras have all gone crazy. Hey, bud. My son's saying goodnight.
Hey,
Sorry, guys. The cameras are kind of gone nuts because...
you're apologizing to like 2 people. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So,
And one of you.
yeah.
And one of them will be us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I made us
You know what?
20 subscribers.
I'm going to go like this. Throw a big Dice Hoser logo up while we talk.
So the rule about motorbikes is called turn on the spot. That's the wording you were looking for.
Thank you. That was it. It has the same wording as Bren carriers, I believe.
Correct, yes.
Yes,
But only
exactly.
some Bren carriers. The Recce
Just,
version.
yeah, the recce versions of Bren carriers, not all Bren carriers.
Yeah,
Apologies.
no, transports do not.
So,
Actually, sorry, transports do have it.
Depending on the transport.
Yeah.
My French one doesn't.
Oh, that's because it's French.
Sacre bleu.
They only drive in reverse.
yeah, no doubt.
True.
So, thoughts on open top versus closed? Do you guys have a preference? I personally try to avoid open top vehicles at all times. I just don't like the negatives that they have with them. I also won't run a closed vehicle that is inexperienced because it's just not worth the pins. They're already hard enough to get unpinned and going that you don't need to, somebody throwing a random HMG shot their direction just to throw a pin on them. So I generally go with regular all the time.
I agree.
I think the open top was a bit of a holdback from version 1, where certain open top vehicles you could assault out of. But in current version of bolt action, I prefer closed, just because closed gives you that extra +1 of your armor of your vehicle.
Yeah.
I'm not a 6+ anymore. I'm now a 7+, which means it's that much harder to actually destroy my vehicle.
Yeah. Does anybody else run veteran vehicles because they're scared of the pin on a regular vehicle being a 50-50 pin, 50-50 chance to pin? Or have you even played that rule? Have you even noticed that rule? And because I know I've often said I don't understand why you'd play veteran over regular, and now I do, but I think maybe it's because there's not a whole lot of HMGs out there to take the pin that you would be given just for being randomly shot on a 50% chance, or 50% chance you'll take a pin after being shot. Welcome
done
back,
it.
Craig.
But or for the fact that to keep all my guys veterans, so I didn't get confused with who was what. But the veteran bike works good too because it keeps it alive longer.
Yeah.
I think the other thing as well is don't forget on certain vehicles that there's a range thing. So if you're firing at long range, that's -1 off the armor.
Yeah.
Penetration, right? So that can just sometimes firing on a tank, on a regular or an experienced tank, just to get a hit on it. You don't care if you. I mean, it's a bonus. I'll say you don't care. It's a bonus if it does damage, but if it's just pinning,
Yeah.
anything that adds a pin that makes your opponent do something is good, right? So, and especially a tank, or even if it's depending on the recce rather than tank itself. But even for a recce vehicle, if you can take it out for a turn, right? That's because I actually think recce vehicles are better than tanks because there are so much versatility to the range of recce vehicles and what you can bring, from cheap little things to correct me if I'm wrong, aren't the tankettes like in the Polish recce or something like that?
Some of them, yes. The TKS was recce.
Yeah, so I think
TKS, the cockroach, whatever that was, the tiny little
Yeah.
thing. It's small. Yeah, that was recce.
So there are things that I think, but you can have some German recce vehicles that are driving around that have got Pack 40s strapped to the back, like Pumas and stuff like that. Right?
Any of the
So-
well,
I'm actually contemplating in my future German list having a Puma because I'm just thinking it'd be nice to have a recce vehicle with a medium anti-tank gun on it and save on not having to have a tank. But would I have a veteran? Nah, don't think the points value is worth it in there. Don't think it's... Especially if
German.
you really want to get out of dodge, you don't want to take the hit, right?
So maybe I wasn't clear, so I'll read this right from the book. Because if you're inexperienced and you take a hit with like an HMG, it's a +1 pen, and you're in an armor 9 tank, you take a pin. If you're in a regular, okay, so I'll read this from the book, word for word, so you guys can.
Experienced, not if you're.
If you're inexperienced and in a tank that is hit with a weapon that's +1 pen, regardless of whether it can damage the tank or not, you will take a pin if it hits you.
Yeah, if you're inexperienced.
If you're inexperienced. If you're in a regular vehicle, a fully enclosed regular vehicle that takes a hit with a pen value of at least +1 that can actually damage them, as described above with the veteran vehicles, take a pin as normal. If a regular vehicle takes a hit with a pen value of at least +1 that cannot damage it, it rolls a die and takes a pin only on a 1 to 3. So you got a 50-50 chance of, well, slightly less than 50-50 chance. On a 4+, it ignores it. So if you're in a regular vehicle and somebody shoots you with an HMG and you're A+ vehicle, so there's no way that they can damage it, they can still put a pin on you on a 50-50 chance, roughly.
Right. So if I'm firing at your vehicle, your regular,
Yeah.
and normally I would be able to penetrate, but because I'm at a longer distance and I can now no longer penetrate you, I give you no pin.
You've got a 50-50 chance because you're going to have a pin of
No,
+1.
I'm talking about regular.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
veteran.
Yeah, no, I'm saying regular. If you're a regular and you shoot somebody with a weapon that's +1 pen but cannot do damage, on a 1 to 3, you score a pin.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was asking. Do you guys? I always play regular. I just take that chance. Most people forget that rule. I always forget it.
I forget that rule. I forgot that rule.
So I've never really paid for veteran. I'm sure if somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, there's still a chance," I would be like, "Oh yeah," because it's always forgotten. That's why my
doesn't roll. They just ignore it.
a veteran only gets pinned if they get hit with a weapon that can actually damage them. So that's why I'm asking. Do you guys run with regular? I know nobody here runs with inexperienced. Do you run with veteran?
I still wouldn't do it.
Still wouldn't do it. It's still a 50-50 chance.
I don't think, because if you are getting hit with a recce vehicle, you're playing it wrong.
Yeah. Well, and then
that should be the principle. That should be the principle of a recce vehicle.
Yeah.
Right? The aim of a recce vehicle, because as a recce vehicle, it should be one of the last things you move.
Yeah.
In your turn, because you want it to move somewhere and shoot something, or threaten to move somewhere and threaten to shoot something.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. So then it's the last thing, because then if you know that someone's going to shoot you because they've maneuvered, you know, because you've got a recce move, you can get out of there. And then there are some vehicles that are better for getting out of there. There's some armies that are better for getting out.
Yeah.
Actually, some armies better for getting in there. So I think, but to your answer about veterans, no. For me, how I play recce vehicles, I would not spend points on veterans, but I would also not spend points on inexperienced.
Yeah. And whether they're recce or not, I don't think veteran vehicles are worth it. And my thought process is you need a +1 pen to
There
make.
is one that's worth it. The Italian has a veteran Jeep called the Saharana.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
And it's got a guy
Sahariana.
drinking a bottle of wine in the back. And it can have MMGs on either side, plus another MMG or anti-light tank gun.
Yeah.
But just for the guy sitting there drinking a bottle of wine, that's worth it. It's only 30 points for the veteran without and then you add points for each weapon you add to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my point is, even if it's not a recce vehicle, I don't think the veteran status is worth it. And my thought process is this: it needs to be hit with a weapon that's +1. The +1 weapons or above. A +1 weapons in HMG, you don't really see a lot of them. If people do have HMGs, they're generally firing them at, I don't know, not other vehicles, not regular vehicles, hoping to get a 50-50 pen on them at any rate.
Well,
But-
you rarely see HMGs anyway.
Yeah,
Because
and that's my other point. Usually anything that's shooting at your vehicle is got a +2 or +3, or bazookas +5. Like they start at +2 and go up, and it's at that +2 if they're shooting at your vehicles, which are generally 7+, 8+, but generally your cars are 7+. Vast majority of them. They're already rolling on a chance to hit and damage anyway, so you're going to receive the pin even as a regular. So I don't see the point of going to veteran. Because even if they're shooting at a veteran vehicle, they've got a chance to put a pin on you because they hit you, even if they didn't, you know what I mean? So I just don't see the point of, I don't think HMGs are powerful enough or seen enough. There's not enough American players in our meta that you see a lot of HMGs. And I think that's my thought process. Maybe if I went somewhere and ran into a bunch, I might change my mind, but
Feel free to
I would
comment.
only.
Feel free to comment, right? People watching this, feel free to comment in the comments below.
Yep.
On the YouTubes there. We're not going to read it, but maybe someone else will.
Well, 4 months we will. Sorry, Ron. Sorry.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
I've got
If I was doing Americans, I might consider HMGs just to put on my transport truck.
Oh,
yeah.
I would take them because of all the flamethrowers riding around in Jeeps and trucks, man.
Yeah.
I would freaking hose them down.
Yeah, the Americans have got that distinct ability to remove those soft skin vehicles with all the HMGs that are out there
Yeah.
that they have access to.
But no, I wouldn't take veteran. Don't.
So going back to the open top versus closed top,
Yeah.
comparison for Germans, what you guys would think. You got the SDKFZ 222. It's a open top wheeled.
Aren't all of
And
the
you have the-
SDFKs open top? Or the
No.
vast majority of them?
Most. Yeah,
Yeah.
the vast majority. The SDKFZ 250/9 is the half track. So they both have the 2-centimeter autocannon.
Yeah.
So the difference being one's wheeled, one's half track. The half track is closed top. The wheeled is open top. And there's 5 points difference. You're paying 5 more points for open top and wheeled. So is it worth the 5 points for the extra mobility of wheel versus a half track?
But okay, the 222 and the 221 and the 223 have squeeze ball or smooth ball barrels on their gun, so it counts
On the autocannon, or is that on?
No, he's talking the
that's
autocannon
the
versions.
Optional, yeah, that's the optional anti-tank
Yeah,
rifle, I guess, that you can add on,
Yeah.
which is a couple extra points.
but he's
I'm
just
comparing
basically
autocannon.
comparing an autocannon wheeled open top with an autocannon half track closed top. So they're basically the same, except for there's a 5-point difference. The wheeled vehicle being more maneuverable, and open top is 5, but it's 5 points more.
It is.
I personally,
It's
I would
95
go
versus 90.
no.
I personally would go with half track.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd lose the
I like
mobility for
idea
the.
of I like the idea of my recce vehicles being able to. I wouldn't intentionally use them to go into terrain, but I like the tactical flexibility that I can put them into terrain. And then you shoot at me, and if I can't recce or I choose not to recce, I've got cover.
Yeah,
So, or if you, depending on, again, if it's dense terrain, typically, then if I am recceing, I'm near guaranteed to recce out of sight, so you can no longer see me. You don't necessarily get that with the wheeled. So that would be my personal choice when it came down to those two specific ones. Also, it's got 15 rivets more than this one.
Well, that was the reason why I chose it. I like the look of it. So
I would take the closed top
yeah,
100% of the time, for the simple fact that as a recce vehicle, yeah, you're trying not to move, but with an open top vehicle, anything on the board can shoot at you and waste their shot to make you waste your die. Like if I've got a 5-man unit with rifles, if you don't recce away, I'm putting a pin on you. I just have to hit you. You're an open top vehicle. You take pins as if whether you're armor 9, 10, or armor 6, 7. Like you still take, or sorry, 6s regardless. Sorry, but 7 plus
But
doesn't.
You could shoot me.
Yeah.
You could shoot me with your 5-man rifles. You're only going to put one pin on me. You can't destroy me.
No.
And
But
so
pinning
you've
is
got
the
to target me. You've got to target. You've got to intentionally aim. I am not going to recce away from a unit that is firing that can only put one recce on me that can't hurt me.
one pin.
So
Yeah.
now you're going to have to commit 2 or maybe even 3 units
Yeah.
to do that. I will take the 2 pins, and I will, if I pull a 3rd unit, then I'll recce away. And I'll be very happy because I've just pulled 3 of your units to shoot at a guy that is going to recce away. Doesn't have to take a test to recce away. Is automatically wrecking away. So now you've got to choose, do you fire at me with a weapon that can hurt me? So I agree that there are situations where if I've already got a pin on me or there's something,
Yeah.
but I don't care if you put a pin on me and I'm open topped, because okay, it's 1 pin. Yes, you're right. My principle is if you pin someone, it makes them do something, and it does. But I think for a recce vehicle, the fact that you can always get out of there if things get too hot, I just think that there is some viability there that you can have with open topped that you don't with closed. But that's just how I play that. That's why I also love motorbikes with sidecars, because they're just so versatile. They are one of the best recce units in the game, because they go round. Okay, I move 24, right? I'll go 24, and I could technically go round the woods and come back round the other side behind you, right? On a recce. So I that's why they're in there, because but that's how I play.
Yeah, but if
I don't mind open top.
Yeah. So when you tell me you'll take 2 pins, that makes me happy, because when you recce away, now you need 8s to come back out and play.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
Which
I've just notified 2 of your units.
yeah.
So
I mean, we're also looking at this as what are my units? What's my 5-man unit got to do? Maybe he's just pushing you back.
10-man unit.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
7-man unit.
yeah.
whatever.
At that point, I think you're drawing the line that I wouldn't. There's probably something better for them to do. But I usually have a couple of small units that these guys got nothing better to do but move forward and take a pot shot. Okay, well, I could take a pot shot at these guys in hard cover or that Recce vehicle and maybe make a move. I'm just saying that's where if I don't want him to move,
I think that's a play.
Yeah.
But I also like the idea of playing that to make you play that.
yeah.
It's the I know you know that I know that you know.
Yeah. And these are all situations where is there something else that I could be doing that would be more tactically advantageous to myself? Yes, probably.
And I did it. I did it in a battle. Not last tournament before, where I intentionally moved my Recce vehicle in. I got shot. Was being shot at. I moved intentionally, so I knew he would want to shoot me.
Yeah.
Whoever pulled the dice first, he pulled his dice. He shot at me, but I then wrecked away, and wrecked in front of something that meant that he couldn't draw a line of sight with a tank at one of my units on an objective. So you've got in of itself, yes, there is the mechanic of open tops versus that, but it's also I think the intentionality of a Recce vehicle is you must emphasize using the Recce on the vehicle. And I play when I've played with people that do that. Actually, Sean's really good at, I've played Sean a lot with his Italians, and he's really good with his Recce doing that. But a lot of people don't utilize the Recce if they're not in a way that really puts their opponent at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Right? You go, I can shoot this guy, and actually you're like, okay.
And something else to remember that I've tried recently is Cav are also Recce.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I played Cav the other day for the first time at Evan's house for Kyle and completely forgot that. And they got shot to shit because I forgot to Recce away.
Yeah.
From the SMG team.
They're not, but I'm wondering, should they be people on bicycles? Because if someone
that would make those the points
cycle away as fast as I can.
That would make the points worthwhile. Because right now I don't.
You can choose to cycle down the road where I've got line of sight to you, or you could ditch the bicycle and run behind the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What about British Airborne with their little motorbikes?
The little well bikes. Yeah,
Well bikes.
they should be able to wreck you away.
Yeah.
Shot there.
So that pretty much covers armored cars with a bit more of a Recce focus than just armored vehicles as it was. I don't have anything else for this. Anybody else got any?
Yeah, does anybody have a favorite Recce vehicle? Kevin and I have got favorite. One of our favorites is the motorbike.
Yeah.
German motorbike with the 6 shots from the MMG.
Yeah.
Oh, are they dual MMGs? Oh, MMGs.
No,
Sorry, Hitler's Buzzsaw.
Hitler's Buzzsaw.
Yeah. I didn't know they were MMGs. I thought they were LMGs.
Yeah, and it's small and it just flies around. Like, it's just so good. I need to get another one. But does anybody have another Recce vehicle they like?
The Polish tank at the TKS.
I hate that thing.
It's so tiny. It's hard to see in the beginning.
Adepticon last year. He
Can
so Matt
he can hide behind a stone wall.
He Recce's away from fire and goes behind a wall, and the thing's so short. The wall was higher than it, so it's completely out of line of sight.
Yep.
From anything.
That's funny.
And it's fully armored and it has a light autocannon, so it's kind
Only
of
the Polish.
yeah. Well,
I
Mini is so small too. It's only like freaking the size of a quarter.
It's tiny.
I like only for the aesthetic view is all the German Recce vehicles.
Yeah.
They're just all cool. A Puma with a big gun on the top is cool. You know, the SDK is cool. Like, they just all look cool. Like, I don't really like the Soviet stuff.
Mine is the what I'll always say is my favorite armored car, Staghound.
That's got Recce as well. Yeah?
Oh fuck yeah! It's broke. Yeah. 8+ can assault light vehicles, can assault transports and instantly destroy them. Recce, wheeled.
They're big though, aren't they? They're really like small tanks.
Oh yeah, they are definitely.
I was gonna say they look heavy. Like they don't look like a Recce vehicle.
Yep, but they are, or that's what they're classed as because they go to all the Recce units. But
I wouldn't want to be in one. I'd rather be in a dingo.
yeah,
You wouldn't fit in one.
The bolt action rules writers in general, I protest around the French, the VUDB, because in the desert it was used to transport Recce troops, but it's not a Recce vehicle.
because it's a transport.
Damn it!
They drove it up close, parked it, and then hoofed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. Does everybody like or use Recce vehicles in their list?
That's
Every
the
time.
first thing I add before I add anything. Yeah.
Exactly.
I've been playing a lot of Japanese lately, so I haven't at all.
My French don't really know, but when I do the South Africans, I'll add in Recce's.
Yeah, all the other
Either
armies.
or universal carriers.
Yeah, I put them in before I put in a tank. I
Same.
do like them. They're so cool. Cool. I think that covers it, Derek.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what the Americans have for Recce vehicles. I think they're all scout cars.
Jeep.
Yeah.
That other version of the Jeep.
What do they have for armored cars? They got Jeeps, Greyhounds. Oh, they got the Greyhounds. Scout, the M20 Scout, the airborne armored Jeep, the M3 white Scout car, and is the armored Jeep with bazookas Recce? I think I may have. Oh, it is. Wow.
I think it might be.
It is. I just looked it up. It is. So
Because I think there's an SAS armored Jeep as well.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah,
that's-
There is. Yep.
Whoa. I gotta do
Which one
SAS.
is it?
I think
That's
I put.
2026.
I think in my singles list for Adepticon, I put a bazooka Jeep in there.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
Isn't it twin bazookas?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Mounted on the sides.
No, on the top where the pintle mount for the MG would be.
Okay.
I just like to know.
They're not like launching. You can launch over a river bazooka rocket assist.
I just like to know whose idea it was to put on double bazookas on the back of a Jeep.
Well, I think what happened was the Americans saw.
Engineer. Like, we should do it.
I think what happened was the Americans saw everything that the Commonwealth nations were doing with the Bren carrier, and then they said, "Well, we don't have one of those, but we have lots of those," and they just started throwing weapons on them.
Why just
It
two?
involved some homebrewed moonshine type stuff. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Right, lads. Hold my welder. Yeah, watch this.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all I got. We got our favorites.
Okay. Thank you for that. Then we will, well, not then, now we're going to go over to our Adepticon with Dave Gordy of Dice Discharges 214. And you can see the Man Cavern and our conversation with him about Stalingrad.
Exactly, and we'll be right back.
Hi, and welcome to this episode of Dice Hosers. We've got another great interview lined up with you. Got a very interesting character, gentleman, and veteran that we'd love you to meet, and his name's Dave Gordy. Hi, Dave. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for coming on, Dave. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Interesting is probably say the least, but you guys are far too kind to me.
Here, I thought you would have balked at the word gentleman.
Oh, gentlemen, gentlemen. half the people I know that are usually gentlemen are usually assholes. So I think I fit in rather well there.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to refer to you as an officer and a gentleman, but because I remember you were a veteran, but I couldn't remember if you were an NCO or an officer, and I didn't want to insult you. So,
Oh, thank you. Smeed was the officer.
Yeah.
I was the NCO.
E4, if
Right.
I remember correctly.
Oh God, no. I
E3?
had my 5.
Oh, you're 5.
I had my sergeant.
Okay.
Before they told me I was retired and said, "Here, have a good life. Here's your pension."
Well, at least you got the higher rank for the pension.
Yeah. Can't complain. Can't complain.
so-
So as we joke, the VA gives you a second chance to die for your country every day for the rest of your life.
So the way we normally do this, Dave, is we're going to ask you some questions, like mainly just like what's your background, what brought you into the gaming, and then we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about a game that we've got planned at Adepticon. So, Craig, would you like to start off with all those interesting questions? I saw you madly scribbling a minute ago.
yeah, I think Dave would be I'll provide a quick introduction of how we met Dave. But
Yes.
I think that with Dave, I think we would need to have a series of interviews with Dave because there's a lot to unpack and a lot to go through. Because, as I say, Dave's a very interesting gentleman. So I think we met Dave, if I recall, Dave, we met you at Adepticon 2023 in Schaumburg, Chicago, playing bolt action. Now, what was interesting was you were wearing at the time Polish uniforms for your. Now, we met you during the doubles, but did you play in the combat patrol on the day before?
No, he
No,
played Conflict with me.
I played Conflict with Derek and wore her Polish kit then as well, but late wore her under the Commonwealth colors. So I actually was wearing original Canadian BD that evening, which was a good time. Though I feel if we had to do a series of these, I probably need to find a way to ship you guys a few gallons of pie so we can enjoy while we're doing it.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And we could record it as we are consuming more and more.
Yes.
For those of you who don't catch or didn't catch the pie, it's apple pie moonshine. He delightfully brought for everybody, and we consumed a majority of it, being the Canadian booze hounds that we are. So I played Conflict 47. I played Conflict 47. I lost miserably because I think it was the first game I'd played, well, the first 3 games I'd played in about 4 or 5 years, because I don't think I had one previous to COVID anyways. So the next day at doubles, I asked Andrew Recce, that you guys all know that we've interviewed a couple times, if we were doing challenges, if he would accept challenges. And we promptly challenged Dave and his buddy Smeed, who's unfortunately not able to be with us tonight. And he promptly reminded us that we had no idea what we were doing for team play. And he went on to take that tournament as well.
And you all promptly reminded us about turn 5 that we were misreading the scenario and made, honestly, our closest matchup of the day. It just absolutely us going, crap, run this unit, get this over here, just to try to get those.
That was the Canadian nice guy came out in
of
both of us, because we knew we had the game and we were like, should we tell them? Oh, we got to tell them.
Yeah. And we played, Kevin and I played Dave too, and we got promptly spanked. And then because you also, now you played in the singles as well on the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, and now you took the first 2. Did you clear all 3?
Yes.
Yes, I that's why I swore off playing in some of the extra games there for now on. Is that I pulled off the Adepticon hat trick, and so I'm not going to tempt fate to ever give me the grace of dice again, and I will just enjoy the camaraderie and the dice throwing as it comes from there, and keep up with the theme stuff that's a little more fun and a little less competitive.
So, touching on bolt action, how did you get into bolt action? Like, what was that took you there?
That is an interesting story. So I started out years ago, as many of us did, with Games Workshop products. 40K, fantasy, mainly 40K, back with second edition. And played a lot that, and worked my way up through the games, through the years. And there's a group here locally that played regularly. And we normally played at my place. As you two have seen, my man cave is pretty nicely set up, and we'd have it set up with about 5, 6, 4x8 tables in here, and spending the entire Saturday just freaking hanging out, playing games, having a good time, and all that. And well, one of the guys had gone to Adepticon one year that I didn't go, and he comes back with this game, and he goes, "Hey Dave, this is like right up your alley. You love your reenacting, you love your history stuff, you love your military stuff. You'd really like this. You should look at it." Well, what is it? Oh, it's bolt action. And this is back before second edition had come out. And I'm going, okay, well, get me your book, and I'll read it, and I'll check it out, and go from there. Well, he keeps forgetting to do it. And finally, just one year, he finally gives me the stuff, and right after second editions come out, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. I like this. And I just go all in and buy an army. And then some, which was my first German army. And I'm going, okay, cool. We played here a few games. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to Adepticon, where I'd been playing like War Machine and 40K. But those things were so cutthroat competitive, and just the people there just rubbed me wrong. I just kept finding myself getting more frustrated and flustered. So I was like, you know what? Let's go play bolt action. I'll probably get my ass kicked, but hey, at least I'll have fun doing it. Mm-hmm. And that was my first year bolt action, my first combat patrol. Oh, and the first singles before they did the teams, the singles tournament that was put on by Chicago Dice. And I went there for the whole concept of playing the theme, wearing my German uniform, playing the army. And, I took theme, and I was happy. I was like, this is freaking awesome. And did that for a couple of years. And then basically things got busy, ended up having some reenactment stuff and some life stuff come in the way of making a next year. Then COVID happened, and we all know how that took 2-3 years out of everything. And then last year was first year back, and meeting you guys just made the whole weekend. I mean, we had so much fun hanging out with you guys, shooting the shit, and throwing dice with you guys. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's good. So you refer to the fact you got your first German army. How many German armies do you have, and how many armies do you think you have for bolt action?
Oof. Well, the fun thing about bolt action is the fact that you can have models that are painted, and those models can be multiple armies depending upon what you play. I know I've had at least a half a dozen different completely made to a certain theme, not just generic made, but strict theme German armies, be it Africa, late war here with the battle around the Hertigenwald and Aachen, and it to early war or SS, all of that. I've been working on a Soviet army for a while. I've just never finished it. Needless to say, Warlord, if you're watching this, please do the models with the Soviet guns in their hands, because gluing those individual weapons sucks. It just sucks.
But it gives you the ability to do everything.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, come on. But I started my first Commonwealth Army with my Poles, with my late war Poles, that also work fantastically as Polish para, depending upon what you're doing with it or even without the smocks, of course. It's mainly first Polish armor, or even Poles in, less so in Polish in Italy, because there they would have had the British tannish khaki uniforms of either the KD or the British BD and the wools, those which with the brownish. But in Northwest Europe, they had the Canadian as well as the British battle dress. So they get a little bit anal retentive when it comes to painting my stuff. So I sit there and make sure the uniforms are as close as humanly possible to the original items. And I'm lucky I have some original items to color match. But I've got those. I've got Hungarians. I've got. I haven't done Finns yet. Though, Derek, you've got me looking at that idea.
Move an ambush. Move an ambush.
Exactly. And then I've done the Canadians, of course, because the Canadians work at the Poles work for Canadians as well. Well, so I like a lot of my multifaceted, my U.S. forces. I've used them for a couple different events where I've had them as being either airborne in Europe or airborne in the Pacific.
Of all of those armies, I think the U.S. is the one that's easily, because everybody had the same uniform. So it's the easiest one to, today they're this, today the next day they're that.
With the exception of the Pacific where you have more of the HTs, but they did have the jump uniforms there too. So that army, I played in the Missouri History event, and it's an army I will never play again because it was so ungodly evil. They said, bring your biggest, most evil thing you can come up with, and the missions were all going to be objective based. Well, it ended up being they were all kill point based at the end of the day, and regretfully I made my army not around winning victory conditions of taking objectives, but by just stacking bodies. And they said, and I basically ran 5 of the flamethrower Stuarts with the whole flamethrower, and then 3 engineer squads with a flamethrower in each one of them inside of a deuce and a half, a jeep with a flamethrower team, and a bazooka flamethrower team, bazooka and a jeep. And so the whole thing was super fast, super mobile, and it was just absolutely. I played it just because I
barbecue
thought
list.
Yes, I thought I'd get the shit kicked out of it because it just people just drive up and just hit it with big things. There's somebody take bigger tanks that I could never touch unless the flamethrower got close enough. And regretfully, I faced mostly infantry swarms.
Oh no!
Yeah,
and the barbecue proceeded.
Yes, and the funny part is I actually had based the entire army off of oh good lord, I can't remember the peninsula, but it's the northern peninsula of the Philippines, where they had to send the airborne with the light tanks, and were literally burning the Japanese out of the holes that they refused to come out of.
Wow.
So I built it entirely around that historical centric, and being at Fort Leonard Wood, which was my alma mater, of the military hell and engineer school. So it just fit, and it was a good time. But it was I will never play that army again. I felt so dirty at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, there's a reason why people don't like flamethrower vehicles in tournaments.
Oh yes,
you would have a hard time playing that list in a lot of tournaments because most of them ban the vehicle flamethrowers.
And it makes complete just sense on why, because it just it's
a 2-foot reach.
Yeah, with movement, yeah, definitely. And then the fact of the matter being is to run out of fuel, you still need a 1, and then when you do, you've still got something that, unlike with a flamethrower team, when it runs out of fuel, it's basically worthless.
It's lifted.
The vehicle's still a contesting piece,
and it still has MMGs.
Yes, many of which. Yes.
So when you're building an army, let's say you want to build a new army, focus on a new army. What's your philosophy? What's your approach? Do you build for the game? Do you build for history? Do you for theming? What's your kind of philosophy of building an army, or building, collecting, painting said army?
Collecting is basically, I collect a little bit of everything. I've got, as you said, I saw our early war French, Polish troops last year. That was just me and Smeed sitting down and him going, okay, let's do we're doing early war. What do you think about doing French? I'm going, well, let's do French Poles, because they're one of the most overlooked, and Maciek is the only force under the French that did a counteroffensive and actually beat the Germans. And beat them handily, and then held out until the end, until escaping.
Was that the army that was in the south of France, facing the Italians?
The south central, yes.
Yeah, faced the Germans and the Italians at the same time, and managed to hold off the Italians and beat the Germans.
They faced the Germans, and what they did is they did a counteroffensive. What had happened was Maciek was part of the Poles in France in exile, and they were initially given garbage. They were not given anything that they were asking for. The French were like, "Oh, the Maginot is going to hold everything. We're going to this war's going to be over before it even starts."
Well, they didn't even have enough guns for themselves, too.
Yeah, and well, exactly. And then the Brits came in and gave them Bren carriers and Lloyd's carriers, and they're getting a little bit happier there. And then, spring happens, and basically the Ardennes offensive just completely bypasses the Maginot, and the Germans are wreaking havoc through the Low Countries. And the French go, okay, hey, wait. We'll give you everything you've been asking for, but you have to go into combat right the hell now. And Maciek agreed. And they gave him all these brand new Renault tanks and anti-tank guns, everything he'd been asking for, or vehicle-wise, everything. But he was supposed to take it all immediately into combat. Well, the majority of his men weren't trained on any of it yet. So he only took the ones that were trained into combat. So about half of his force goes in, and they decide, we're going to do a counteroffensive towards this hub town, this supply hub area that's through the German lines. And they do the assault. They break the German line. They take the town. And then they basically radio back to the French going, hey, we've broken the line. Come help us follow through to exploit it, to push the Germans back. And the French go, Paris is about to fall. You're on your own.
We give up.
We give up. And they stayed and fought until they ran out of ammunition and fuel. They spiked whatever was left and then broke into small teams and exfiltrated to the south of France, where they actually got out. Pretty much all of them got out to there. The vast majority went across the Med to North Africa and then made its way to Britain, where it got to Scotland and became the very start of the 1st Polish Armored Division, with a small handful actually electing to stay behind and worked with the French resistance through the war. Oh, wow. And so that was what our whole army was built on, was this, mobile, what was known as the oh, good Lord, I'm trying to remember. It was French armored motorized, French armored Polish. Sorry, something French cavalry, armored cavalry Polish. I'm trying to remember the designation, but I can't for the life of me right this moment. But that was what I built it on, and that's kind of what I like doing the armies on, is finding a unit or a specific battle or sector, and then building the force out of units that were there, or a specific unit, division-wise, whatever, and then looking at what they had for resources, and then making a list based on those resources that's competitive. Great example, looking at something we're going to be doing with teams, one of the units available, that most people would overlook, is the PaK 36 gun. The German PaK 36, early war, it's a light anti-tank gun. By the time we're looking at a mid-war scenario, it's kind of worthless because you're looking at 9, 10 armors, not your 7s, 8s.
Yeah.
But in 42, the Germans engineered what was known as the Stahlgranat 41 ammo, which anybody who ever watched Band of Brothers, if you remember the Carentan episode, it's the one that Carwood Lipton almost had his nuts blown off with.
Yeah.
That's on the front end of that there. That looks like a giant mortar round on the front end of the PaK gun. And but it makes that light anti-tank hit like a heavy anti-tank, a 6 penetration at 24 inches.
Right.
Where most people would overlook that for the most part, because you're going, well, hey, I can throw a bunch of points into an 88, and an 88 is extremely versatile and great, but it's immobile.
Yeah.
So I look at things in that nature of that, and I take some of my own experience with firearm maneuver in real life to effect, and look at it on the tabletop of, okay, if I've got to do this and got to do that, how does this play together? But a lot of it's based on the history in a basic battle. I find different forces that are cool. I've looked at Italians, and there's some really cool items, especially with some of the new Tough Gut stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A case blue.
So
Yeah. What do you have an idea for a next army that you're thinking about?
yes, actually, because this whole thing is moving towards going towards a late war theme for next year's Adepticon. I am basically gearing up for a late war themed Soviets.
Okay, yeah.
CeeLo Heights.
All right, yeah. Well, that's a good list as well.
Yeah, one of the top 5 lists in the game.
I love it because the sheer magnitude of the massive amounts of different stuff you could take. But what I'm doing looking up for the CeeLo list is the first Polish Soviet army.
Oh right, yeah.
The communist sympathizers and the Poles that weren't freed by the Soviets with Anders' army that went through Persia and had to do that 4,000-mile march from Siberia to the Middle East. But the ones that when the Russians got ticked off with the Brits and the Free Poles in Britain, said, fine, we're going to make our own Free Polish army, which is Russian for it's a puppet, and go off and make our own Polish government in exile, and they're going to be the ones to inherit Poland at the end of the war and build it around that force that was there in fighting in Berlin.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's quite cool. I look forward to that. I think a good counter to that, not army wise, but just theme wise, would be if someone did a German CeeLo Heights with all the defensive trenches and the lines on the
I'd
hill.
love to see them put that into a list, because I don't think they've ever done a German CeeLo defensive.
But what is
a lot of people overlook the sheer amount of artillery the Germans parked in CeeLo, and the different Panther and Panzer turrets they dug into hillsides there.
What is the that's something I guess we could have asked Andrew, or I've never seen anybody at any of the tournaments we've been to bring any defensive positions. I've never seen anything that explicitly says you can't. I'm assuming because they're generally the Adepticon, the Combat Patrol and the teams are theater lists. So if it was in the theater list, I'm assuming they would allow it.
I'd say what would be really interesting would be somebody do RSI Italian for late war.
Yeah.
I think you maybe don't see them because if I recall, typically the rules are if you're playing an attack defense scenario,
That's
then you
right.
can
And
use
they
fortifications, right?
and
So
all the missions in
they're not
the
attack
book,
defense. Yeah.
but all of the missions that Andrew has made does have attack and defend. Roll the die. Highest person is the attacker.
Yeah, but that's not what the scenario refers to. If you look in the rule book, the scenarios are broken up, and you've got the regular scenarios, and then I think there's the second batch, and they're called attack or defend
Yeah.
scenarios. So it's not is there an attacker and a defender? It's basically which group of scenarios is it from?
I see. Okay, so that would be a tournament a TO question. Are you going to have
so what
this?
you're
Am I wasting points?
starting to see, though, you are starting to see scenarios being built where tournaments being built where they're saying if there is an attacker and a defender, so you're rolling off,
Yeah.
then you can bring fortifications. The only problem you have is they are open to abuse, right? So it's nice if you turn up and you go, well, I've got some trenches, I got a little barbed wire, and it's more themed. But there have been a tournament, probably more competitive tournaments, but there have been people turning up where they've just got like about 4 foot of barbed wire.
Just to go across the board.
They
Yeah.
just put it around their zone, and
You-
unless you've got engineers or
A
vehicles,
vehicle. There's nothing you can
Right.
do.
Or even
So-
think mines.
yeah, it just it
Minefield.
screws you over. So I think there is some element to it, but you'd have to be selector specific to
Yeah.
pick that up. Because otherwise, I think it'd be fun. But like you say, you're right. I don't think there's a specific CLO Heights German.
Because that was a thing that going back into a different game set for Flames of War, that was one of the lists that I always wanted to make, and I actually ended up making the Italian. For anybody that remembers the Italian army, you could buy a fort. But then we played that one scenario where I get to put the fort here and I put it right around the objective. So it was kind of
That's
like, fucking come and get it. I win the game. Like, you have to come all the way across the board. I'm in this defensive position, and I can't remember if the objective was on the inside of the fort or the outside of the fort.
It was on the inside.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And it was kind of like, what are you going to do? You got to
Yeah,
break into this fort and everything else. But I mean, every game set I've ever played right up until Case Blue, Italian rules always screw the fucking Italian player more than anybody else. So it was kind of one of those, I finally get a win. But it's like, you can't do anything to stop me from winning. But I got it.
Win.
Yeah.
It's a win with asterisks.
Yeah, exactly. I got a lot of those apparently.
So Dave, what is it then that appeals to that Polish CLO Heights list that is or battle that's just kind of this is pulling at my hobby strings that way?
Well, it's I would say fringe benefits at home, definitely. And I for a little bit of a thing on me, I married into a Polish family. My wife is first generation U.S. Her grandfather was 11 when the Germans came in, and he didn't emigrate till 2000. Her parents emigrated after the wall came down. So, I have sort of picked into that side of the family and that history a lot, and really just the more I look into it and the more I research it and the Polish history, it's just absolutely amazes me, because going back so far as to even the Renaissance era through to through World War II and whatnot, and then obviously Cold War into now, the Poles really got the shit into the stick no matter what happened. Yet they were the ones who, if you go back to the Golden Horde with the Mongols, beat the snot out of them and then stopped it, let alone stopped the the Muslim Turkish invasion of Europe, everything else. And you get to World War II, and they've only been a country again for the first time in over 100 years. There's for 20 years now, and now they're basically getting jumped and ganked by the two largest forces on the continent. and you know, they stayed fighting through the whole thing, and you've got, you know, the moral dilemma of those that are in exile in the gulags in Russia, and what's going on with them, and the whole thing of, okay, I stay in the gulag, and yeah, I'm dead. My family's dead. I'm dead. There you go. I go and volunteer for the Polish Soviet military, and they might let me go home, but there's at least a 50-50 chance, maybe a little bit less, but better than a guaranteed dead, that, you know, I can live through this thing and go home. And if I volunteer for the force and go fight, my family, yeah, they'll go get sent in a factory to work for the Russians building war munitions, but they won't be in the gulag.
Yeah.
So they'll get to live. They'll actually get something to eat and get somewhat taken care of. So the moral dilemma for them was hard. And just their sheer will to fight. A little bit of a, you know, fun tongue-in-cheek for those who don't know about it. There's a classic TV show that you can find on YouTube called Four Tank Men and a Dog. And the idea of being able to model a T-34 and have Rudy on the side of it and drive it in to the battle for Silo just is kind of a quirky fun for me for that, because it's just, you know, it's tapping into the family piece, as well as, you know, the cool history bits of it, and the moral dilemma of the Poles. Those, especially, you know, at the end of the war, thinking, hey, we're gonna have our freedom, to basically be, oh no, you're pretty much, yeah, Russian, yeah, Stalin's bitch.
Yeah, I have to say 4 things about the Poles as a peoples, and absolutely everything you've just said, I agree and love it. I would say, 1, that any country whose armed forces has a real life bear as a mascot is just awesome, right? Smoke cigarettes and Gary's ammo. I think that bear, was it corporal or was it sergeant? I'm trying to remember the.
He got his corporal. They gave him corporal after the Battle of Monte Cassino.
That's right, yeah. So that's awesome. I think, secondly, I think the Poles, just phenomenal fighting people, right? They're just their armed forces just never gave up, no matter, like I said, they had to, after the Battle of Poland, they managed to escape, and they went all on that long trek to get back, to go around to France and the UK, and they managed to do that. And you think, how would you even do that out of a landlocked area? And they managed to escape. So I thought, I think that's, and the contribution, I think, in many ways in World War II is a lot overshadowed by, the fact that they were some of the best pilots in the RAF during the Battle of Britain, the airborne troops, the fact that they helped save the 1st Airborne at Market Garden, even when they thought it was a terrible idea.
And even when Monty basically blamed them for the entire failure.
And that was going to lead to my other point, was the fact I think that the Poles have struggled, they've struggled through strife, but in their history, but I think that they were screwed by the Allies just as much as they were by the Soviets. And I think that, like, from my perspective, if I'm always friendly to Polish people, because when I meet them, because I know what contribution they provided to the UK to help keep the UK, Britain, fighting in the war, right? They made a real contribution. And for things like that, they weren't allowed to join the Victory Day March at the end, and and
get their pensions.
Yeah, and things like that. I just think is just a disservice. So I think I'm a big admirer of the Poles, and today they've still got big brass balls because
they've got the largest military in mainland Europe right now. They are literally staring Russia, going, please Please,
Yeah.
please institute Article 5. We'll take you on by ourselves. Just let us do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know that they would give them a good kick.
Oh, and they do it too.
Right,
Something
so-
interesting you're talking about with Market Garden. Sosabowski, he, after the war, he was working in a factory until he died, because they wouldn't give him his pension. And
Yeah.
he wasn't even given British citizenship. So all he could do was manual labor jobs. Maciek, who, led the first Polish Armor Division. He was a colonel at the start of the Second World War, fighting in Poland. Goes to France, fights there, goes to Britain, fights there with the first Polish Armor, takes Bremen and in freaking in the Netherlands, and without any civilian casualties or civilian infrastructure damage. And at the end of the war, they won't give him his pension, and he was pulling pints in an Edinburgh pub in a hotel, just to pay his bills. And
Right.
the Dutch actually offered to give him his pension, but Churchill and the Brits wouldn't allow it because they didn't want to risk pissing off the Russians. And when his daughter ended up having to have a life-threatening illness, had to have surgery for it to save her life, the Netherlands ended up saying, okay, you won't let us pay his pension, but guess what? We're going to pay for everything for his transport for him and her to go get the surgery, pay for the whole thing, pay for them to be taken care of while they're there, and pay for her whatever she needs afterwards. And, they at least did that. And in fact, because of that, that's why he's buried in the Netherlands.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, they have a monument for him there. Sosabowski is actually buried in, I believe, Krakowa. But, Maciek is buried in the Netherlands.
Oh, wow. I know with Sosabowski, I was reading that at his funeral, nobody really knew who he was. But then when it came out, in his obituary, when people understood who he was, or some people understood who he was, but all his former service friends and stuff, he had a funeral of over 1,000 attendees.
A lot of the first para guys came because if it wasn't for his actions, many of them would have been stuck in Arnhem.
Yeah. So I've always found the Poles fantastic.
They're intriguing.
People.
They are absolutely amazing. Some of their history.
Yeah, and the vodka's good too.
Oh, well, you never go wrong with vodka.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, so awesome! So you're looking at that. What is Smeed's playing alongside doing this, or is he doing a slightly different theme to go at?
Smeed has basically jokingly told me that unless I find somebody else that will be my teammate for whatever crazy theme I decide to do for the teams, he will continue to follow me down that rabbit hole. Which I joke with him because he's like, oh, you're the brains of the operation. It's your strategy and it's your design that gets us where we were.
Finally,
and I'm like,
officer that gets it.
Well, I straight up told him, I said, well, all honesty, my dice rolled really shit that weekend, and most of our games, the clutch rolls were done by him.
Smeed had some good rolls on our game. I remember that. I just kept going, damn it. Like, on this side's okay, but that side, man, the sixes are popping.
Oh, that wasn't as bad as my Nationals finals game. I felt so bad. You saw what I was doing for Nationals last year for the singles.
Yeah.
And the first turn, all of my artillery hit.
Oh wow.
Yep. That's
dead
gonna leave
on
a mark.
first hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the gentleman had got an amazing charge off on my cav, which was down one or two men from getting shot, but he got a full charge on my cav with his cav, and he only killed like two.
Oh wow.
And then I got my counterattack and beat his roll by killing like 3 or 4. And so his full 10-man squad went woof.
Oh man.
That happened in my game too. Only it was worse because his cav charged my AA, my not Bren, Bofors.
Ooh.
He killed one guy. I killed two. 10 men. I may have been down to 8, but yeah, the whole cav got the charge on the Bofors. He hit one guy, and I'm like, dude, I think I only had 3 dice, and I'm like, I'm only gonna get 1. We'll be tied, and we'll go into the next round. He's like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I am. There's no way. And then I rolled 2, and I was like, oh fuck, man, I'm so sorry. That should never happen. He goes, no, that's when it happens. When you charge shit like that, that's when you lose. But this game, man, charges are fatal.
Charges are brutal.
They don't even screw around. It's like, okay, you're close combat. It's over. It's done. You're gone. Like, I love that part of it.
You taught me about how, you're the one who taught me the rules with K-47, because I was so green to it last year. But if what we were hearing last year is true, we might be hearing a second edition of that this year.
Hopefully. And maybe that's why they don't have a K-47 tournament, is because they're going to announce it. But I'm not going to hold my breath. And I'm really kind of disappointed that Warlord just didn't seem to step up to the plate for Adepticon at all.
I know. I was really disappointed. They've got all these great systems, and yet the only things being played is regular bolt action.
Well, it's not even that it's just regular bolt action. It's everything being played. Of the 4 events, only one is being done by Warlord. Yeah, 2 are done by Chicago Dice, and then there's that come play. Oh no, there's a Korean one too, but I don't know if that's being done by Warlord. So maybe there's 5.
Yeah, but it's just a trainer game. It's people rotate in and out as they'd like.
But at least it's something. But I thought, like, they're just releasing ABC Warriors. Not that I have any interest in it, but they're not doing any play test. It doesn't look like they've got any, like, come play and see our new system. They're in cahoots with that other guy or that other company to do Mythic America. They haven't got any of that. Even, like I said, even that come try it out. Stuff. They don't have any of the Cruel Seas or Victory at Sea. They don't have Waterloo. They don't have Black Powder. I think that's pretty much going the way of the dodo. But it could. But and like, they just. I was like, why are you even here?
Yeah,
it's disappointing.
So much great opportunity, especially with that second venue, to just really showcase and highlight the historicals, and they're just
they are. Between them and Battlefront, they are World War II, and between them and nobody, they are anything else historical. Yeah. Like, they're the only one that's got anything that's even worthwhile for Weird War. Like,
or there's nobody else that's got anything worth it for it.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping.
I'm really hoping that we do see a 2.0 come out for K-47. And I'd love to see them move into, Vietnam for things. But like we talked about in the past in a couple of conversations, the problem with it is that it's, outside of certain niche areas, there's just not as much call for it. I'd love to see a World War I. I think World War I
is vastly underrated and underrepresented. Everybody thinks trench warfare, but it doesn't have to be that portion of World War I. Yeah, well, and even if it is, you can do small unit fights.
But
it doesn't have to be the grand battles.
But you can have you could actually have 2 game systems, right? For World War I. Like, you could do early war, late war, and do it. Yeah, you could do epic scale. You could do 28 mil. There's the early war, we've got cavalry and things like that, and then you got late war, we can have tanks and aircraft, and there's so much to do there. And then mid-war, where there was a lot more trenches in the West anyway.
Yeah,
you could even play, like 0 to 100 hours kind of games where it's all small scale infiltrators and stuff, and
the different reconnaissance groups moving forward in the night to go cut the wire so the big offensives could happen.
Yeah. Exactly, kind of things. There's so much to do, but World War I is, I think, the problem with World War I, and I don't think it's any game designer's fault or anything. I think it's just been in the West, at least. The mindset is World War One was trenches, trenches.
Yeah.
All the pictures you see is trenches, and yes, it was a big part of it, but it wasn't the only part.
Especially the Eastern Front. The Eastern Front, there was hardly any trenches. It was just vast amounts of ground and, quick put together defensive areas, and that's about it. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
But then you're dealing into, when you think about the East, North America, Western Europe, they don't really think about the Eastern. Like the Western Front is the Western Front. And even then, I think World War I is really overshadowed by the fact that World War II is closer to this generation. And therefore, there's more information about it. There's more movies, there's more books, there's more, everything. Like you don't see Band of Brothers for World War I. You don't see, any of
some good films recently. Though.
Yeah, but it's like a couple versus this onslaught.
I wouldn't count the new All Quiet on the Western Front. It's a good World War I movie, but it isn't All Quiet on the Western Front.
I would agree with.
It's very disappointing that they didn't stay true to the book as as they could have.
Yeah, but that's my point. It's one book, whereas World War II has been covered. I argue that World War I and World War II, the Eastern Front is almost non-existent for us in the Western Hemisphere, be it Western Europe or North America. But for World War II, the amount of information that is there and the nostalgia is much, much more than World War I. So I think that's where you get a bit of that. It's only trenches. Well, that's because nobody knows anything about it. There hasn't been any movies made. There's not a lot of books. You know what I mean? Like in comparison to...
look at great movie. Old Ricky Schroeder with The Lost Battalion.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie.
Yeah,
but I think you're hitting the nail on the head about the Eastern Front thing, because what people lose sight of is you have the October Revolution, and any actual history on the Eastern Front is either forgotten about, or the people that would have more than likely wrote it are dead.
Yeah.
Because they're killed during the Russian Revolution.
Yeah, it's any information from there is all going to be from one side. There's going to be a definite slant.
Suspect.
Yeah, but and it's not even just the information though. I mean, for every book or movie you can point out for World War I can point out 4 or 5 from World War II.
Oh,
like
yes.
it's the whole nostalgia thing for World War II. I think that's what makes World War I don't want to say unpalatable, but a harder sell. Because everybody's got that one fixed view of it. Oh, like, I don't want to play trenches. I don't want to have trenches. I want to have tanks. I want to have parachutists. I want to have, mobile games and whatnot.
They lose sight of, of like the Austrians and the Italians fighting for no trenches through the Alps and through the through the foothills there in northern Italy.
Yeah,
I agree. I think probably another element of it as well is that the difference with World War II and World War I is that World War I was, well, I think two things. One was an end, kind of coming towards the end of imperialism. It was the last kind of royalty infighting that took place, and most of the fighting was between soldiers. It was probably the last soldiers' war, so to speak. Whereas I think World War II was you were bombing people, civilians were. It was total war.
Yeah,
and I think that brought people. I know somebody who was there, or somebody was growing up there, or everyone in, and it wasn't just Europe, or I mean Europe and Russia, but you're talking about America and the Pacifics, and there's all of that, and I don't think you have so much of that from World War One as much.
World War I is the, in my view of it, it's the last great European family feud.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because and it was the last. In all honesty, it's the, even though it wasn't exactly gentlemanly by the end of it, it was the last gentleman's war.
Yeah.
Or, where the idea of, okay, I'm going to come beat the snot out of you. You're going to say uncle, and I'm going to go home, and then we'll both build up and be mad about it for a while, and we'll have another scrap at it later on.
Yeah.
And it's say what you will about it, that each is divided equal to their own opinion. But I truly believe the French had the most hand to play in seeing that go that route post-war, because instead of being like, okay, we won, we've got this, yay, it's over with, they were such whiny little gits about it at the end of getting their noses twerked in the Franco-Prussian, and basically everybody finding out they pretty much had no real, for lack of a better way of saying it, balls since Napoleon went away, that they had to really put the twist to the Germans.
Yeah.
And that set everything in motion for things to come.
Yeah, and there are a lot of historians now who are kind of suggesting that actually there wasn't two wars. There was one war. It just had a 20-year pause.
Yeah.
Right.
That's really about the long and the short of it. It's that there was because if you really look at it, World War I ends for all, takes its pause, and they're really fighting doesn't stop. There's fighting all over the continent, be it paramilitary groups fighting Russian, fighting red revolts, to the Red Revolution in Russia, to the fascist movements in Italy, to then that then sparks up with the Spanish Civil War, and then leading into the Balkan little revolutions that happened through the onset of the takeoff of hostilities again in '39.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we, as I say, we could go on for hours on this.
Yeah.
We could be
I was just about to say the same thing.
Seeing as we're on the Eastern Front,
Yes.
now Adepticon at 2024, we're going to be partaking in a rather large battle around the city now known as Volgograd, but at the time was known as Stalingrad.
Yeah.
So why don't you just give a bit of an overview of the battle specifically that we're going to be playing?
And then
what's
we'll
right.
yeah, and right after you do that, we'll anybody that's watching this podcast as opposed to just listening to it, we're going to go do an overview of the board that he's built. It is currently got 6 feet complete. One of the big buildings for the next 6 feet, this is going to be a 12x4 board. And if you're at Adepticon, we will have it out on display. And I'll tell you again, I believe it's Thursday morning we'll be playing on it. So swing by. We'll be on the, not in the main Adepticon, we'll be in the historical area. But yeah.
For all the cool kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I will be having it up for play to be used during the teams.
Yeah.
And be submitting the board for the best board competition for that.
Excellent. So yeah, back to Craig's question.
Okay.
Explain the battle that
So-
we're going to be reenacting, and I put out air quotes.
Well, for our fun little club grudge match, fun fest of drinking and dice throwing, we will be doing a piece of the Battle of Stalingrad. And basically, the offensive through the northern factory district that went from October into November of 1942. So the primary area of sector of this conflict is the Barricati munitions plant. Anybody who's familiar with the Barricati works, it was and still is there and still is functioning as a munitions factory for the Russians. And so much so that actually one of the buildings that is on this board here is still there today, as is the majority of the factory buildings, having been rebuilt and re-roofed, are still there. And you can actually look at them from satellite imaging and everything there. It's really, really kind of interesting. But we're going to be doing the fight that was known as the Battle for the Commissar's House, which took place from November 10th through the 13th of 1942. I've always been fascinated with this battle, not the least because, they took the Commissar's House and was the high watermark for this part of the fight on my own birthday in 1942. So, but it basically is the German and Sturm units, assault troops, mainly pioneers, that were sent in to take and grab these key structures in the housing district that was closest to the river from the main factory complex. So we will be fighting over the basically part of the housing district and into the administrative area and some of the warehouses of the Barricati factory that we've got in scale to this. I have taken my anal retentiveness to heart and gotten original aerial photographs pre and post battle that I've taken and used for the layouts for positionings of the buildings, as well as a rough idea of what the buildings should look like with the buildings that we don't have actual photos of the commissar's house in and of itself. There was photos of it before the battle and post. And I have a to-scale commissar's house that we will actually get a fight over. And they'll be even doing some interesting rules with that, where normally when you're playing bolt action, if your unit goes down and it's in a building, it takes half the amount of hits from HE. You don't have to go down for that to happen inside the commissar's house. And if you do go down, it halves it again. And that is because the commissar's house was built out of 3-foot thick brick walls. The Germans had to bring in Stug 33Bs to put holes in the walls because their mortars were just punching holes through the roof. Their regular Stugs were just doing superficial damage. They could mainly only do something through the windows, and whatnot. And so it was just basically this fortress of what was originally an administration building that was commanding a central position of the line that the Germans had to take.
Somebody had some forethought when they built that building.
Oh, yeah. Probably
this office building will never fall.
And it is actually still there today. They were using it as an economics school for a while.
Oh, wow.
So the Germans actually infiltrated to assault the building and send pioneers up to place charges and breach. The problem was they got up there and they couldn't find anywhere to place charges where they'd actually be able to breach because the walls were too thick and they knew it. Problem was by the time they started trying to figure out a different way to go to breach to get in, a Russian workers militiaman up on the second floor saw them, and the Russians started basically dropping their own mortars, shooting machine guns, throwing Molotovs and grenades down at them, and they had to fall back and into defensive lines near the building, were pinned down, and basically spent that day getting the crap kicked out of them until they had the Stug 33Bs and Stug assault guns come up to provide fire for them to be able to withdraw and try to still take the building. Didn't work. They got some more Sturm troops assigned to them, and this time, instead of trying to breach the exterior wall, they actually went in through the main courtyard, blew the main doors open, went in through there that had been barricaded. This is after a Ziz 3 gun that had been in the courtyard the previous day. The entire crew, all but this lieutenant that had been manning it with his men, was the only survivor left, and he took out 3 German Stugs from that one position before basically having to fall back. And so the Germans get into the first floor, and they held the main foyer there, went up to the second floor, and the building is a U shape with straight long wings, hallways going along the windows to the interior of the courtyard. And they set up machine guns there to overlook, held down the fire there, and started moving up to start clearing. The Russians, in preparation, had actually blown holes through the walls to move supplies back and forth between rooms without having to come out into the hallway to get shot. And so the Germans ended up flushing the Russians down to the towers at the end, which is where stairwells were as well, forcing them down from there, and then down further into the basement. and the Germans actually went so far as to start blowing holes through the floor to start throwing grenades, shooting flamethrowers down into the Russians in the lower rooms, be it to the first floor or into the basement. Finally, with what little Russian survivors there were that were wounded and whatnot in the basement, they ended up pouring a bunch of petrol down there. They're throwing 3K charges down, block charges down, and shooting flamethrowers down. And only 6 of the Soviet defenders scurried out of holes and were able to get out of there. The rest either suffocated or burned down in the basement.
Wow.
So we will be fighting over this, where our German troops, our objectives will be to come across, take the apothecary house from you guys, which is one of the main buildings that was taken on the 10th of November, and then the commissar's house, to then try to push you all the way back and close up what was then known as Ludnikov's Island there on the shores of the Volga.
Wow.
There we go. So
Okay,
this is going to be fun.
so-
We've been planning this since last Adepticon.
You guys are going to shoot the ever-living shit out of us trying to cross that. That's all there's going to be to it. It's me that I keep joking that it's like, yeah, they're going to sit in those buildings and they're just going to just shoot the living crap out of us as we try to cross. It's like, yeah, and we'll just hopefully put pin markers on them enough to keep their heads down so that we can get over them.
And we're doing equal forces too. I'm wondering if maybe we should have gave you like an extra 1,000 over top of us.
No.
But,
I think 4,000 on 4,000 for this is going to be absolutely beautiful. I think it's going to be gorgeous. I mean, we are getting preparatory bombardment on you.
This is true.
So that will be a big factor to things.
But you're not British.
Yes, we're not British. Regretfully, we need Stukas. That might do a little bit better for us, but regretfully, we don't have pilots.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's going to be, I think we agreed on a couple of nuances to the list as well. So the Soviets have no tanks because there were none there.
Yep.
We've got just a few ZIS-3s because, again, I think there was a
crap load of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
ZIS-3s just all over the place.
Snipers, we've followed the Juggernaut podcast rules, which was no, sorry, not that one.
No.
There's no you don't remove the team.
Yeah.
If you kill
that was ours. So it's like you're not hitting the chamber of the machine gun, you're not hitting the barrel of the mortar, you're just hitting one of the crewmen, and the other guys know how to use it, so they're going to continue using it.
And please, Warlord, hear that fix medium machine gun teams, because in all truthfulness, all 3 members are trained on the gun. So if one guy goes down, he'll man it.
I sometimes wonder if those rules are made for ease of play, or if it's just they've never served in the military. And I don't mean that as a slight. And I don't mean that as a slight on anybody. Like, if you haven't served, you haven't served. It's no big deal one or the way or the other. But it's sometimes it's those glaring things that I always wonder, is this because you don't understand the positions of like a loader is not just the loader. He's just the guy that got designated as loader. They both have the machine guns. They both have the machine gun course. They both know how to use that weapon. That's why I always say the sniper hit the breach. The sniper hit the mortar too, because that's the only way it makes sense that this is being lifted.
A mortar doesn't do that, though.
Yeah.
A mortar, you can't kill the gunner because everybody's just a crew. It's like an artillery piece.
Well, that's why I'm saying he hits the tube.
Yeah.
And by hitting the tube, you've punctured it. Now you can't drop the round in it because it's exploded in. And that's why you can't man the machine gun, because he's hit the breach. Like, he's just that good, right?
I don't think it's so much meant to be, and again, I'm just trying to guess here.
Yeah.
I don't think it really had anything to do with how it was in real life. I think it was just more a reflection of trying to
speed of play, ease of play, and also to maximize other units in the game. So the exceptional damage, there's a reason for because there's no,
if I shoot a 10-man squad and I've got exceptional damage, I'm either taking the sergeant or the LMG, right, or the flamethrower, kind of a thing, which you could argue, okay, but everyone knew, several people were trained on the machine gun and so on. But I think there's meant to be a reason for, well, if I get an exceptional, I'm doing something, right? And I think with the sniper, they wanted to add something, an ability to the sniper, so that in the game, what machine gun teams and mortar teams are not. How do you reflect killing? Because there's maybe not an NCO so much to speak as there is in a squad. So I think they tried to do something with the game, but I don't think that it works
to make snipers worthwhile.
Yeah, and but they play sniper. I think they use snipers in the wrong way.
Yeah. Because
snipers, really, as I understand it from what I've read, was really more about holding up the enemy, targeting key personnel like officers that were stupid enough to stand out in the open, and to suppress,
or jackasses that got saluted because of
command and control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
I would suggest that one quick, easy change to that would be like going on with this. The sniper just kills one of the team members, but instead of doing a pin, it does 2 and or 3 pins. Because if a sniper is out there, you're not popping your fucking head up. Pardon my language, but you're not. You are staying down. And you are dropping rounds this way, or you're like firing like this into where you think he's going to be. So maybe instead of removing my unit from the board, you're adding more pins because my unit is like vastly aware that you're right there and you're shooting at them.
Well, that's like the rule you guys suggested that we completely agreed with medium machine guns that they do, who 1 pin extra the first time they hit.
Yeah, not even hit. They shot in your direction.
Oh, they shot. They shoot.
That's 1 pin,
and that's suppressing you.
Yeah, and that's not our idea. We happily stole that from the Juggernaut podcast, and I know of a lot of people that have been borrowing that from them too, because it just makes it more effective. And that in itself, even if Warlord took that and put that in the game, snipers removing them, I'm happy with, because I'm still going to take it, because if you don't, I'm going to get those extra pins, and pins are what this game is about. It's not about the sniper taking out an NCO. It's the sniper takes out the NCO, and that puts a permanent 1 pin on that unit, and pins are what win the game.
Oh yes, pinning is winning. That's our little catchphrase.
Yeah.
But why don't I give you a tour?
Okay.
Of the first half of our board.
Okay, I'm just going to do a quick switch here. Focus on not you, but you, and change this scene to here. And there we go. We're, again, if you guys are listening to this, check out our podcast, our YouTube channel, and you will see this amazing board. So, Dave, why don't you walk us through what we're looking at here?
All right. Well, thank you for the graciousness on that. It's not a bad board. For a start, I've still got the other 6 foot to do, and still got some minor details to do this. But as you can see here, this is just the first third of the board, and you have basically a maintenance type building here. That L-shaped building is her apothecary house. We've got a little bit of a driveway / maintenance yard there, where you can see the artillery craters have come in and hit. Coming over this way, we've got a factory building that has not yet been hit by any rounds. Behind that is one that has been, another administrative type building. We've got over here a trench line that basically it gives ease of movement where you're not amongst the line of sight to be shot at by the enemy, going from our building here over to our factory warehouse area over here. Again, to a more administrative complex there. We've got our road system that cuts through here, and all of this is built into the board. Coming over here as well, we've got more of our walking barrage, as you can see it cutting across from over there where the pool table is on the far side there. They're coming this way as if the German artillery had been plastering the area in a walking barrage towards the Volga, with a command and control mortar pit type piece here. Coming around this way, again, you see more of the factory building there, to our commissar's house, and our road system through here again. And you can see the different pieces inside of here and all the detail all through.
And I just want to point out to everybody, he showed me the inside of those buildings earlier, the ones on the other side of the board. They're painted. Like, he's painted the insides as well. And that dugout, or that trench line you saw on the other side, where the wooden cover was, that's magnetized and pulls off so that, that you've got a place for your NCO to hide from the barrage that may be coming.
I'll give you an idea through here. So there you can see where the interiors are all painted and done up. You can see where the wall paint has been damaged. The brick is now showing all through there, through the parapet. And as Derek said, the trench over here, you can see the sandbags down in there in the mud, the gunk and all through there, but comes right off and snaps right back in. And now the piece that I'm most proud of, our commissar's house. I still have yet to do the interior walls and floors, but they actually all come up here, and you can see the scorching on the brickwork from the shell impacts and the damage there. And coming up here a little closer to the piece and the interior walls. Again, everything's painted. Getting all the detail in there. I'm looking forward to once I start putting this together. I'm actually debating on making the second board piece be where the commissar's house always sits, where it sits on the board there, by actually cutting into the board and putting the basement in.
I wondered how long it would take you to get energetic.
Well, it all depends on how crazy I want to get in finishing the army itself, and how super detailed I get with it, because as Smeed and I have to start on this side of the board here and come to you all over there, where you will be entrenched and dug in already. Though you will get to start halfway up, because our forces will be walking in on first turn.
Yeah. Well, you do have that nice road system that when you get on it, you might be, depending on your vehicles, be able to zoom around a little bit more. We don't have any vehicles, so that's not an option for us. I just wanted to point out that commissar building. So Dave couldn't find this anywhere, and he reached out to a guy that already had some buildings made, and that guy made this a special. So there's two versions of this. One is the destroyed one you see. Another one was a perfect non-destroyed. And Dave, thank you for not doing this, was going to make both and just slowly replace the pieces as it got bombed out, which would have added time to our game. So we're glad we didn't do that. I'm going to get the information from Dave for where you can get this building, and I'll put it in the notes below. If I don't, just keep checking the channel, and eventually it will go up there, because apparently it's not available to the public yet. But as soon as it is, we're going to link this to him so he can see what it looks like, and he can tell his people on his website what it looks like made and painted. Because I think that's absolutely fabulous that guy went out of his way to help Dave make a specific building.
It's an amazing building.
Yeah.
Dave, how long would you say it is by how wide approximately?
What's the footprint? What's the footprint of that?
Just a second here, and I will get to that footprint. Bear with me as I walk through my menagerie of 3D printing and whatnot around here. Oh, and I don't know if you noticed those, Derek.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
them. Craig, those are the grenades he made us so that we can have them hanging on our hip when we are playing this game.
Yes, I have F1 and RGD 33s for you both. Okay,
Nice.
so the long sides, including the little nubbin out there on that, is just about 20.5 inches.
Wow. Okay, so for those who can't see this that are listening, there is a center building and then there are two wings. So if you imagine like a horseshoe kind of shape, of which the horseshoe, the two arms are 20 odd inches long.
And the back side is the exact same, 20.5.
So it's 20.5 by 20.5 or 22.
Yeah.
And there's a big
Basically
courtyard.
counted square.
The building itself is a U shape, and it looks like it's about 6 to 8 inches and goes in that U shape with two towers at the end that are kind of flattened. Again, get on YouTube, check this out. I'll see. I haven't done time codes before. I'll see if I can time code it, but it'll be. I'll kind of put a note in it, like check it. If you're looking for the building, it is at this time. I'll see if I can remember to put that in there.
12.5 inches across for the courtyard from one wall to the other.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is a really nice building. Like it's pretty cool, and the fact that you can get it both destroyed and complete this is something that would definitely be a centerpiece for any table, and it doesn't have to be the commissar's house. It could easily, like it was originally an administrative building, it could easily double as a lot of different buildings.
College.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It's fantastic building.
Yeah.
Looking forward to providing my life and or more importantly, my men's lives to protect them.
Well, I have some fun little pieces for you gentlemen as well for you to take home at the end of it. Each one of you are going to get an RGD 33.
Nice.
Along with
So we're already winning.
an F1 grenade.
Yeah, so we already won. Doesn't matter how the game ends, I've won.
Oh, yes. I'm bringing some of our own swag. Warlord, as I had told you, Derek, is going to be giving us some support for this as well, for both sides. So at the end of it, we can kind of give away some stuff, and they have been gracious about it. I'm putting together a write-up, and they're going to be featuring our board and our game on their social media and on their site, and showcasing it as part of their stuff with Adepticon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice. That's awesome. That'd be great, Dave. So looking forward to this. It's got me buzzing again.
Yeah.
It is going to be amazing. I did show Derek these as well because I had mentioned that there was the housing district that was just across the road.
Oh yeah. So these buildings are going to be in the other 6 foot.
There'll be another 6 foot. There's one more of these I've still got to paint, but these are these here are our row housing.
Wow.
Yeah.
For the housing district that is just the back side of the housing district from on the city side of the commissar's
house. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, anybody that's seeing those in the background, there's 2 3D printers that have probably been running nonstop since last March.
About normal, yeah. or there's always
yes.
See,
the Maxim in the corner.
That's okay to bring and have it set up there for support for the for you guys on your side.
So to anybody that's been to Adepticon and been to the Warlord, especially last year, the Warlord booth, thank you. There was a vehicle parked there. That was Dave's. Dave put that vehicle there, and I believe he's bringing another one this year. I don't want to name either one of them because I want you to be surprised when you get there, because it might be the same one.
Not this year. They are not being given enough space this year to do it.
Oh,
however,
that's too bad.
John and I are talking about next year
Okay.
And them actually very possibly running a demo game out of the back of it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Wow. That would be cool.
Yes,
Get in.
the Dingo last year, regretfully, it's not got any real flat surfaces for them to be able to put any product or put any stuff stuff for a demo on, and so it makes beautiful display, lots of fun to drive. But it takes up a lot of their space they'd be given, and so this year space being a premium as it is at Adepticon, they couldn't really be able to do it.
Because if memory serves, it was going to be the Panhard, correct?
Yes,
It was supposed to be,
however, that ended up getting sold.
Yeah. Oh well, then it wouldn't have been the Panhard, but it was last
however,
we talked.
I'm working on an M3 half track.
Ah. Oh, okay. You can definitely play a game in that.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it'll be a great time.
Depending on the weather, it might even be an outdoor game.
Play with will be even better.
Excellent.
Well, Dave, this is excellent. This is going to be a really good game. Canada versus US.
Soviets versus Germans.
I would like to point out that although in Canada we do have universal healthcare, we are not commies. So just
I don't know. You have to know.
Dave, do you want to bring your camera back and we'll call this out?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll just change this to this.
As I was saying, yeah, you can't say you aren't entirely communist. You do have Trudeau.
Yeah, that's true.
He is not Castro's son.
No.
You just have to look at his nose and you know he's got his dad's nose.
Yeah. Let's be honest about it. Castro's son would probably have a little bit more brains.
All right, Dave, I want to thank you so much for not only being on our podcast, that is awesome, but for the amount of work that you are putting into this compared to what we're putting into this is absolutely phenomenal. This is, I can't wait. We've been talking about this for a while. I cannot wait to do it. For all of you listening, turn off your podcast right now because I am not sneaking booze over the border because that would be bad. But I would love to be able to bring some down that we could drink together as opposed to just buying something for you because I know you're bringing some pie for us.
Of course. And pierogi.
And pierogi, yes. We're gonna be definitely the center of attention for a couple hours. So that for me this is absolutely amazing, and I want to thank you, Craig. Last words.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I said, we've got to do this again, Dave. I think for our listeners and viewers that there's so much that we'd like to dig in, and actually it might be something that we can talk to you about. We're doing seasons of our podcasts, and each season is 6 episodes, and this season is going to be both Bolt Action and Waterloo, but then next season after summer is going to be focusing on the Western Desert War, and we're doing it from both a Bolt Action perspective, but also from a history perspective. We want to say, in page 17 on this battle, we're going to actually give you a chat, and we're going to talk about what happened in that battle from an actual real historical perspective, and then tell you how our game went. So it would be great to get you in for an interview, because I know you know a lot about history, and that would be great for us to have you back. Because
he's walking to show us something. I can tell.
No, I need to plug the dang phone in because she's getting low.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a good thing we're ending here.
Yes, but no, you gentlemen are the absolute best. I could not ask for better folks to throw dice with at Adepticon, let alone anywhere else. So I am beyond and honored to be doing this with you guys. And honestly, you guys were the part of the reason this happened. I mean, if it weren't for the fact of us connecting up and coming up with this idea last year and start throwing it together, this would not, this wouldn't be happening. And to be all honest, it is probably one of the coolest things I think I have probably done with this hobby because of just you gentlemen and doing it together, because it is just absolutely the best. You guys are so much fun to hang out with, even more fun to throw dice with, and yeah, you guys can handle your liquor pretty good too. So it's just the best of all the world.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you
thanks for
very much,
coming
Dave.
on, Dave. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, anytime.
Just saying, we're back.
And we're back. Thank you very much for listening to that awesome interview with Dave Gordy, who we're going to be catching up with in a few weeks.
Cannot wait.
And we'll be talking in our next episode about post-Adepticon, but we'll talk about that a bit later. So really now it's talking about our, I think we're looking at hobby plans and stuff. Is that right, Derek?
Yeah, it is. But one addendum to that interview we just saw, he sent me a bunch of my eyes only pictures of the like 98% of picture board done. You guys are going to be mad. He asked me to keep it quiet. That's why I'm just rubbing it in your faces that you can't see it. The board is going to looking really, really good. You guys are going to be quite happy.
I think there should be a second opinion on that, because since I'm not going and have no interest in the thing, like if I was to see a couple of pictures, I could second the.
Well, you can watch the interview, and you will see lots of pictures, as well as. So, any of our viewers that saw the interview, I want to play pick the weapons. See which World War II weapons you saw. There is a Maxim in the video. There is a 60 millimeter mortar in the video. There is a Sten in the video, and there's a whack of rifles. And then what else was there? There's something else I thought.
Was there a Garand, Lee Enfield?
Yeah.
Was it noise in? What's the?
There's a bunch that you'll see all together on a weapons case. He had
when the zombie apocalypse comes, I know
exactly where I'm driving to. Exactly.
Yep.
No insult, Dave. It was awesome because I know you're watching this. So hobbying for the end of. I'm assuming this is like getting close to the bitter end for those of us going to Adepticon. So let's start with the guys that aren't going to Adepticon. Kevin, what's on your hobby plate?
You already guessed it. Waterloo.
Waterloo building.
Yeah.
Yay.
Waterloo. Lots and lots of it.
Lots and lots of Waterloo. Okay. Making Sean happy. Making Sean very happy.
Are you going to be? Do you have any troops as well? You have some troops, don't you?
Who?
Some Waterloo troops, Kev?
No, I have the Austrian command box that I got from you. That's it.
Oh, right, okay. Well, are there rules for Austrians yet? No.
Yeah.
You mean Prussians? Eh?
Do you mean Prussian?
Yeah, the Prussians.
Prussians.
They were there.
Yeah, I've got the Prussians as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
paint those up.
All right. So Evan.
So I'm finishing off NKVD to drop off with Craig later this week.
Nice.
Then I've got my half of the doubles list to paint for the one in April. And then after that, it's painting some Dutch for Waterloo.
Excellent.
Are you also having a mini Adepticon, not Adepticon event with Kyle or something like that?
Yeah, we're debating what to play. We might actually play Waterloo on Saturday when you guys are at Adepticon. Just to get the mechanics going of the rules and things like that.
What?
The oven's on with your dinner.
Oh.
Want me to take it out?
Yeah, just take it out. I'll eat in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to bed.
Okay, good night. Sorry about that. I had the wife came in. All right, Matt. I think you said earlier you're working on a display board.
Yeah, the display board, a few odds and ends, not much left for Adepticon. And I guess doubles for our tournament in April. I've got my army to paint up and I'm probably gonna have to build my son's because, well, video games I guess are more interesting than building. But he loves playing bolt action, he just doesn't like building it yet. So
What happened to the robots?
I'm gonna. Sorry.
You still doing the robots?
Yes. Yeah. Then some Waterloo, and I think that'll be it for the next couple months.
Nice. Sean, this is the first time I haven't seen you painting in the podcast.
Well, I'm still painting. Like, so for Adepticon, my painting is done. Actually, no, it's not, because I've got some Shatterpoint to paint up that I may end up taking the Plo Koon box with. So I might take Plo Koon with the clones that he comes from with his box, and Ahsoka's Padawan Ahsoka is in that box as well. So I don't know if I'll take her or not, but I'm gonna paint those guys up before Adepticon just so I have them as an option. I'm gonna paint up Darth Vader, but I'm not gonna bring him, and some Stormtroopers that came out a recent box. And I didn't pick up the Ewok box yet. I'll pick that up whenever for Shatterpoint. But the BattleTech is all done. The bolt action's all done painted except for the display board. So I've got some Song of Ice and Fire I'm working on when I want to paint, whatever, first thing in the morning or later in the evening when I'm not playing Baldur's Gate 3. Then I'm painting Song of Ice and Fire. I just signed up for the latest Song of Ice and Fire Kickstarter called Tactics. It's a skirmish version of the Song of Ice and Fire game. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, so getting into that as well.
Nice. Craig, what do you got going on?
Finishing the Soviets off for the Stalingrad battle. I'm also trying to paint up to make my Soviets a 1,000-point list. I don't have to worry about the doubles because I'll be TOing that one in April. And then I think that's it at the moment. And then after that, it'll be novel because I'll be painting up some Waterloo stuff. Which I'm really looking forward to.
Back to the 15 mil.
Yeah, which I'd be interested to see if I can even see it.
That's the great thing about it. If you can't, nobody else can either. You just slap the paint.
Yeah. So I'll probably have to watch a few movies from Napoleon to Waterloo to was it The Last Duel? No, not The Last Duel. Was there's a very famous film when it's David Carradine and
Kung Fu.
No, not Kung Fu. No, it's not that. It's his brother, not David Carradine. It's his brother.
Revenge of the Nerds.
No, you're like.
It's basically set during the Napoleonics, and it's a movie about two French officers that fall out, and they have a series of duels over the wars, and it's over the Napoleonic Wars.
Oh, interesting.
And they keep meeting up and having a duel, and for some reason, one beats the other but never kills him, and it keeps going on and on.
You're gonna have to do the whole Sharp series.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Started that. Actually, I'm reading to my son the Sharp series, reading the books, go through and stuff.
A lot of Sharp was on YouTube when I watched it.
Yeah, we've been watching those as well and stuff. So yeah, getting into that, and then my plan after that is I actually want to paint up my combat patrol for Adepticon 2025. Straight after the Waterloo stuff. Because I think we're taking a break over summer.
Yeah.
In between all this is Western Desert book campaigns that we want to talk about later.
Oh, I've also got the Western Desert. Yeah. Well, but about the Western Desert, we'll probably got more planning to do. But I think we're just going to choose 6 battles from that book because I think there's like 18 battles. And if we do one a month, we'll be paid later. It'll take us forever. So I think we'll just end up choosing 6 battles in there, some cool battles, and going from there, which will keep us sane because we also might want to do another campaign of something else.
That first battle the one with all the armored Rolls Royces and other random cars. We should just make that each person gets an armored car.
Yeah.
That's it, and around we go.
Mad Max kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Gaslands.
Gaslands. Yeah, I was just thinking that. We'll use the Gaslands rule. Just whip around the board.
Yeah. Did you see the trailer for Borderlands?
It looks awesome.
Yes.
I don't watch trailers. I refuse to watch trailers.
Have
You see the
played
best
the
parts.
Game Borderlands.
Never played
The
it.
game Borderlands.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I haven't. I've
Well,
seen
then
that.
You've seen the trailer then.
Yeah.
Pretty much. The graphics are a bit better
Yeah.
in the trailer.
So for myself, I have to paint up a small unit of Canadians. I'm going to mirror them off the PPCLI Pioneers for our doubles because we had to do a last minute list change, which is nice because it gives me an extra order dice so we both have the same. And that's about it. My Adepticon is pretty much finished except for trying to figure out what I want my combat patrol to be, but I'm pretty sure that whatever it is probably already painted, so there might be like one or two things, but easily enough done.
You finished your Soviets as well, haven't you?
The Soviets, all I have to do is I'm printing out some bricks to give them a better base, to give them kind of like a city destroyed, but they're all painted. No, I have to do the gun barrels. They're still just primed, so that's it. Otherwise, they're completely done as well. Minus, gun barrels and eyes. And I fucking hate eyes, so chances are those will never be done because I always suck at them. And if you're looking that close at my miniatures, you're seeing all the bad painting I'm doing anyway, so what the hell, you're not even going to see the eyes. Other than that, much like you guys, I've got all that Waterloo that I guess I'm going to have to paint up Prussian style, so I got to figure out what colors to use because, well, we're not rivet counters, so maybe I'll just pick blues that are close. And or even just contrast.
I've got to do my British Grenadiers with the appropriate number of buttons.
Well, then you can laugh. You can laugh at my Prussians, which don't. Other than that, I'm not really planning on anything else. I got to get some Italians for the Western campaign that we want to do, because and then Kevin and I have got to figure out what we want to do for our doubles list. Because I'm probably going to have to pick up some Germans because that's all he plays, or maybe my Hungarians. I can get those out. Other than that, that's
another. I might have something else.
Oh, okay. So we'll think about what Kevin wants to do. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I've been trying to get in, and I've been pretty successful over the last 2 weeks, at least doing an hour painting a day, except for today. But yesterday I did 3 or 4 hours, so that was all right. I find if I do it in an hour burst, it's much easier to do. Other than that, that looks like all of our hobby stuff for the next month. So we'll see you guys all after Adepticon. Craig.
Thank you. So next episode will be a little late due to the fact that Adepticon is at the end of the month, the week of the 20th to 25th that we're there. So that's typically right around when we would be recording.
Let's do it the week right after.
Yeah.
Week right
The
after.
week right after, while it's fresh in our minds.
That's
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we'll be debriefing our Adepticon event. Where did we get face tattoos from, and what alcohol did we consume? How bolt action tournaments went, Blood Red Skies, how Sean did with his BattleTech and his ACW game, and then who won, Team Canada or Team USA in Stalingrad. And probably, and then a bit of a peep at looking at the tournament pack for the Operation Claymore doubles in April.
Well,
that's
for the Stalingrad, if we win, I'm crediting the alcohol. If we lose, I'm blaming the alcohol. For the Stalingrad.
It's good plan, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what objectives he's put out on this, but it sounds like they figure they're going to lose anyways because they got all this open area. So I think the objectives are going to be on our side of the board, and it's basically if we defend, we win. And there is a lot of open space. So that's what they're saying, but I'm sure he'll balance it out and make it somewhat more fun. But they're just looking forward to throwing dice and drinking, and I think that's exactly what we're looking forward to as well. So
I would
They're
point out they
probably
do
not
have
playing
tanks
in
and,
the combat patrol later in the day.
oh, it's going to be a long day.
Oh, was that the same day?
Yep,
Same day.
same day.
Nice.
I thought the Stalingrad game was on Saturday or Sunday.
No, it was Thursday, and then or it started out Sunday, and then it went to. Then he was asking if we could do Thursday, and then we said our Wednesday, and then it went to Thursday. So yeah, it's moved around a bit, and it was more because getting the table on Sunday would have been really tight because they would have had you have to rip down Sunday afternoon, so it would have been one of those, are we going to get it done? Are we not? And then John Russell also got involved. So he asked us if we could do it earlier because it sounds like they want to take some pictures and blog it on the Warlord site. So that'll be interesting. Getting on their site, see how involved he wants to get with it. He's also providing some prize support and whatnot. So, and then we were talking about filming it, but given the amount of stuff that's going down and the fact that we're just taking one vehicle, I don't know. I think it may just end up with a lot of pictures, maybe a couple of short videos of maybe something cool that happens, but we won't be videoing the whole game, I don't think, unless he manages to bring up some video equipment, but I don't know how much or what he has. So.
Don't forget you're taking giant terrain thing display board, which is going to take up a whole seat in the car.
Yeah. So no.
You can actually empty it out and fill the cameras.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's this episode wrapped up, and hopefully everyone had enjoyed the episode and listened to the interview. And we will see you guys in. Probably by the time this goes to record will be very early May.
All right.
Okay.
We'll see you guys all later.